worked at the first 3 holes this afternoon. He goes to 11 under par. He is just 1 behind Mickelson and now tied with Davis Love. Mike Weir has just teed off. That's the men's Buick in La Jolla. The women are in Hawaii. Lori Kane, A.J. Ethorn at 5 under, 2 shots behind the leader, Annika Sorenstam. Well, there is 1 game in the NHL this afternoon. Let's take a quick look. New Jersey's at Pittsburgh. Devils with 68 points. 1 up on Ottawa in the Eastern Conference. That begins in about 30 minutes. We'll have highlights for you this afternoon. Don't forget Hockey Night in Canada coming up tonight. Detroit's at Toronto on Thursday. Toronto losing 2-1 in Detroit. Buffalo at Ottawa for the Ottawa area in the East. The national telecast is Calgary at Vancouver. As promised, time for the Karcher Junior Curling, the men's. Let's take you live to St. Catharines, Ontario.
The roar of one of the world's 7 wonders beckons the roaring game to Niagara. The next generation has assembled to choose Canada's next junior champion. Newfoundland's Brad Gushue makes his last appearance as a junior. His last chance to win after missing last year with Last Rock.
Oh, it comes up short, and the drought continues for Newfoundland.
But Gushue has refused to be haunted. His rink has been galvanized by their near miss all the way back to the final.
I think I've learned a lot from that shot last year. I think I know how to handle myself if I get in that same situation, and you know, I've thought of every moment leading up to that shot and right after, and how I'd change things and how I'd keep them the same. And I think if I have the same opportunity this year, I think I will know how to deal with it a little bit better.
The Mike McEwen rink of Manitoba poses a serious threat to Gushue's comeback in Newfoundland's first ever junior title. They made it the hard way with a win in the semifinal.
We think we're the best, and we're going to try and go improve that.
Today, they'll all hurry hard for this country's greatest treasure in junior curling. Championship Curling on CBC. From St. Catharines, Ontario, nestled between Niagara Falls and Lake Ontario, it's the Karcher Junior Curling Championships. Today, the Mike McEwen rink of Manitoba meets Brad Gushue and his team of Newfoundland for the junior men's title. By the St. Catharines Golf and Country Club, where a capacity crowd has jammed this arena for this junior men's final. Good afternoon and welcome back to another season of Championship Curling on CBC. I'm Mark Lee. It all begins this weekend with the Karcher Juniors. Then we're off to Sudbury for the Scott. Then it's Ottawa for the Nokia Brier. And finally, the Ford World Championships later this spring in Switzerland. But right now, the juniors are our focus, and enormous expectations on Newfoundland's Brad Gushue. Anyone who watched his tears 1 year ago in Moncton in the final can only imagine how determined he is to win it here in his last appearance. I saw him on this ice 3.5 hours ago working on his draw weight. Now, at the end of the round robin, Gushue was in a 3-way tie at 9-3 with Northern Ontario and Manitoba. He advanced with the bye to the final because of victories over those 2 rivals. In the semifinal, it was Manitoba prevailing over Northern Ontario by a score of 8-3 in 7 ends. Mike McEwen curling a whopping 95% at skip. So this Manitoba team is good. In fact, they won the Brandon Zone in the Brier qualifier playdowns in Manitoba, electing to come here instead, and today they get to play for a national junior championship. Well, it's a new season, and with it a new perspective to our coverage, and today we'd like to welcome 2 new members to our broadcast team, including 3-time world champion and Olympic gold medalist Joan McCusker of Regina will bring her insight to the microphone, along with her enormous experience as one of Canada's most celebrated curling rinks. All right, Joan. Joining her, Olympic silver medalist from Nagano in 1998. That's Mike Harris, and he'll be calling the shots as part of a new front end to our coverage. Joining, well, curling's longest serving Olympic commentator, there's Don Whitman. He called his first Brier back in 1961. Don Whitman, back then in the melon jacket, And there he is today with us.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. Very definitely a few things have changed over the years. My first Brier, 1961, and unfortunately that year's champion and the 1974 champion, Hec Gervais, is no longer with us. In the broadcast booth, it's a pleasure to welcome two new compatriots, Joan McCusker and Mike Harris. And Joan, in this championship game today, Newfoundland and Manitoba, Brad Gushue of Newfoundland looking for redemption after that heartbreaking extra end loss last year to Brad Kuhn of British Columbia.
And Brad, I think, has been thinking about that all week. Been thinking about that for a year and has worked really hard to get here to this final. He's got a lot of experience behind him, and that helped him to get over the jitters and the expectations to return to this final. This is his 6th appearance at the Karcher Juniors, and he's going to be trying his best to play his best today in the final.
Mike McEwen was a semifinalist in 1998 with an entirely different rink, Mike, losing to John Morris of Ontario.
Yeah, and his team this week has fought hard. They had a tough last day of the round robin. They lost their last 2 round robin games where 1 win would have given the bye to the final. However, they did rebound very well to absolutely blow Northern Ontario off the ice yesterday in 7 ends. Mike McEwen curled 95% in that game, and they're coming in playing great.
A lot of talent on the ice. They make some excellent shots, both sides, don't they?
They do, and as I said, Brad Gushue's team is going to be a little more comfortable early in the game, but said who knows what's going to happen out there. Manitoba, I think, will be a little more conservative early in the game, but look for them to get a little more aggressive as the ends progress.
Identical 9-3 records in round robin play, Joan. Newfoundland had the win over Manitoba in the round robin. Is that any edge going into this championship game?
Well, I think it does play a bit of a factor, but more of a factor is the way that these fellows get along. They love to play with each other. They love the game. Their chemistry is fantastic. Brad Gushue has got a team that likes to be out there. That'll help them when the pressure comes on in this game. They'll help each other get over misses, help each other make the next shot.
Well, Manitoba has won the junior championship on 5 occasions, but not since 1995. Newfoundland has never won the junior title. Brad Gushue hopes to provide his province with its first ever national junior championship. Now let's rejoin Mark Lee.
Thanks a lot, Don. And before we get to first rocks here in St. Catharines, let's bring you up to date on the Nokia Brier playdowns across the country. In Prince Edward Island, Peter McDonald has qualified. Steve Moss will represent Yukon Northwest Territories. In Quebec, Blake Stoughton leads Francois Roberts by a score of 4-2 in the 6th end. The winner there of that semifinal will meet Guy Hemmings tonight in the final. Look at that. The Iceman, 2-time world champion Al Hackner, will play Bruce Melville in the semifinal this afternoon for Northern Ontario. The winner to face Bill Adams tonight in the final. 8 more provinces still to determine their champions and entrants to the Nokia Brier. That will happen tomorrow across the country. But today, the moment at hand belongs to the junior men. It's Brad Gushue of Newfoundland versus Mike McEwen of Manitoba, and we are ready for first rocks as we go back to the broadcast booth. Here's Don, Joan, and Mike.
Well, Mark, first rock in this game will be thrown by Nolan Thiessen of Manitoba. Brad Gushue, by virtue of finishing in first place atop the round robin standings, has last rock advantage in this championship game. So we are about set to get underway. This rink from the St. John's Curling Club, skipped by Brad Gushue and Mike McEwen from the Brandon Curling Club. Brad Gushue in his 6th Canadian Junior Championship. For Mike McEwen, this is his 2nd appearance, a semifinalist in 1998 in Calgary and a finalist here in St. Catharines in this year's championship game. Calling for the initial stone from Nolan Thiessen in the top 4-foot circle. He's a student at Brandon University in General Studies.
It should be good.
Top 4.
It looks like it's there.
And as we've seen in many of the Canadian finals, the team's not ready to mix it up very early in the game. Want to play a little bit cautious to get the feel of the ice and get out the jitters.
Okay, it's a good shot now.
Well, it slides into the back of the 8-foot circle. Nolan is quite an accomplished baseball player, and he's going to attempt to gain a position on the Canada Games team this year. He's a right-handed pitcher. The Canada Games will be held in London, Ontario. Mike Adam, a kinesiology student at Memorial University. He played in the Canada Games in 1999. His hometown, Wabush, Labrador.
Let it work. Whoa, whoa. Looks like a lot.
We see early, Brad's very comfortable. He's calling for an early corner guard, and Manitoba did slip that stone to the back 8 foot. Not a real dangerous position for him, and taking an aggressive stance early in the game.
Whoa.
Well, it will slide just into the top of the 12 foot, so as a result, Manitoba will be able to take a run at that stone. Had it stayed outside the rings, of course, they would not have been able to make a pass at it.
Yep.
I think both teams in practice were noticing the ice is a little bit quicker today. I think we'll see first couple ends. They may struggle a little bit with draw weight, but look for them to continue their aggressive play.
Thiessen with a hit and roll for a bite on the 12 foot. Manitoba lies 2.
It's not uncommon to see a final with a lot of people in the building and the ice running a little bit faster than what it has all week. Those extra people, a little bit more moisture, a little bit more heat. The ice makers tend to turn the ice down, therefore making it a little bit faster.
The ice hardens up, pebbles, just so the pebble will last a little bit longer into the game. You can't bring it back once it's gone.
Adam drives the top stone through the rings, and his shooter stays just outside the rings.
Top 12's good.
And a very aggressive move by Mike McEwen. He's calling on his second, Jordy Hargraves, to try and take advantage of that corner guard.
That's a very aggressive call, though. That stone's only a foot from the rings, and there is a little bit of danger here, and you certainly don't want to slip this one behind the tee line and allow Newfoundland to play a freeze right on top of you. But
or rack on that guard and push it, pump it in,
exactly.
where Yellow would have a chance to get 2 very early in this game.
Whoa. Hit a rub. Okay.
Jordy Hargraves, a 20-year-old computer science student at Brandon University, just rubbing off the yellow stone as he attempted to draw in behind it.
Go, Brent.
Brent Hamilton, the new addition to this Newfoundland rink.
Whoa.
He's a grade 12 student at Prince of Wales in St. John's.
No. Okay, Brent. Fine, Brent.
He played in the Canada Games in 1999 when they were held in Corner Brook. He was skipping his rink that year and wound up with the bronze medal.
Going to be pretty good. He threw a 5-2.
Little change in plan there for Brad. He could have possibly played a freeze there, but being the first end, you don't want to be playing a freeze and possibly let Manitoba have a chance to lay 3 early in the game. So although the stones are behind the tee line, he's still a little bit tentative from going all out early in the game.
Right up. That's good. Oh boy.
Jordy Hargraves, the Manitoba second, comes from a family that has been involved in curling for a long time. His grandfather, George Weldon, played second for Manitoba at the 1948 Brier.
That's often the way it is in curling. There's lots of the same names keep popping up. Curling traditions seem to run in families.
Whoa. Okay, Brian. Yep.
See, many of the competitors here this week have parents that John and I have curled against over the years.
It's a great roll.
That was a nice grab. Pick.
Brad Hamilton with a hit and roll.
He's rolling
in front
the outside of the house.
Of the red Manitoba Rock. You talk about families being involved in curling. It was a little difficult for some of the parents this week. Chris Neufeld curls with Vic Peters. Vic Peters involved in the Manitoba Playdowns. Denny Neufeld, Chris's son, playing third.
Whoa. Close.
Denny Jr. We go Chris Denny as well, and I think Chris was here early in the week, but had prior commitments to Vic, and actually Vic's daughter's playing for the Manitoba women's team, so it's a good representation from the Peters rink here.
Yeah, and in the Manitoba Playdowns, the McEwen rink was playing the Peters rink in the championship game. So Peters and Neufeld, although they're teammates, that's the fathers, were sitting on opposite sides of the rink when they were watching that championship game in Manitoba. Mark Nichols from Labrador City.
Room. Lots of room.
He's in computer science at Memorial University in St. John's.
Room. Whoa.
And now that Newfoundland's only got the one stone in play, they're playing a little more of aggressive play, playing a freeze, possibly come around depending on the line and weight.
I think you can characterize the strategy so far as cautiously aggressive. We'll be aggressive when we've got a good chance, but we'll switch gears if we need to.
A great come around there by Mark.
Line was great on that one, slipped just behind the tee line.
Right there.
It's in a good spot though for Newfoundland. Manitoba doesn't want to be playing freezes here early in the game, as mentioned. They'd like to keep things a little more cautious. And Brad, this really isn't a big risk for him. The stone's behind the tee line, but it's way out in the wings, and he does have an open draw still if he needs to on his last one.
Whoa. Almost hack. Close. Yep. Hard. Whoa.
Nice quiet weight, asking for hack weight here on this nice tap.
Whoa, get that one. Hard.
Not quite enough to remove it from the rings, and the shooter appears to hang around at the back for a bite of the 12-foot as well.
Well, the same reason why the ice is a little bit faster today would be the reason why it's not moving quite as much either. When it's a little bit quicker and the ice is a little bit colder, we'll see less curl.
I think it might be us.
Brad trying to guess who's second shot here, although it's way at the back 12-foot counts just as much as the one in the 4-foot. So he's got a good opportunity here to score his 2 points. Playing a hit and roll. This is again a little bit of an inexperienced call. They're asking for normal hit weight. With a stone way at the back of the house like that, there's not very much room to roll. So he has to be very precise on this takeout to hit and stay.
Normal. Clean. Whoa. Up a little. Whoa. No. Right off. No.
The guys were talking about this ice earlier, saying it's unforgiving. If you put this rock out, it tends to stay out.
It's not bad.
Maybe that's what happened to the stone from Mark Nichols.
Fine, buddy.
The moment he released it, he felt that maybe he had a little too much weight and maybe threw it out just a touch.
Might be a little adrenaline in the legs too. They're on first end of a national final, and even though they're experiences, you still get excited.
Now McEwen with his first stone is going to go out to the wings for a draw attempt, and there haven't been any stones played down this side of the ice thus far.
I think he's playing a double here, Don. Looks like he also thinks that yellow's sitting second shot, so he's trying to double off the outside stone and hopefully remove both. Need a lot of weight for this shot.
He's got some options as well. Just hitting and rolling in front of that yellow one or in behind the guard will work as well. So he does want to remove this stone.
Mike McEwen in his third year of general studies at Brandon University.
Close. Whoa. Whoa.
He's got a lot of weight on this one, Mike.
Yeah, he needs a lot of weight to make the double here. And rolling out. This gives a good opportunity again for Brad to score 2 in the first end. He's asked for a come around. He'd like this to be just partly buried behind the corner guard. Doesn't need to be perfect here. Just wants to not give Manitoba an opportunity for a double.
I'll do an 81 on my guard that went in the bite. Mark was 78 cold.
We're thinking 9 for me.
Yeah, that'd be real close. Like, we didn't touch Mark's either, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Front end conferring with the skip, Brad Gushue. As to the weight he has to throw on this draw attempt.
And you can hear them talking about
Should be locked.
8s and 9s.
Clean it. Line's good.
This is a situation where the shot really isn't that difficult, but it's pretty important early in the game to get a good feel for draw weight.
Just here. Well, line's real good.
And opportunities for 2 don't
line's
always
really
come
good.
around.
Keep it above the tee. Whoa.
Above the tee. It's got to be.
Whoa. Sit down.
Needs just to curl just a little bit to take away the double.
Great shot, Brad.
This is the type of draw weight he would have loved to have had in the extra end last year.
It's an excellent communication shot where you have to let the third know what kind of weight there is early so that they're able to call the line.
Yeah, man.
You know what you got?
I don't know, no.
Felt good, though?
Yep.
Felt like
I threw plenty, though.
Tough, but as long as you take it out, it's fine.
Yeah. Should be good.
Now, Manitoba in a situation here where they're basically going to be conceding Newfoundland a deuce here in the first end, assuming all things equal, but he's trying to hack weight hit on the stone on the tee line, and hopefully he'll stay for shot and force Brad to hit and stay, but this is, I think at this point he'd be happy just to remove the Yellowstone.
Well, for Mike McEwen in his 8-3 win over Brian Adams of Northern Ontario in the semifinal, he broke the game open with a big 4 on the 6th end. But on this opening end, in the final against Brad Gushue of Newfoundland, he's looking at 2 yellow Newfoundland stones as he throws his final.
This has got some curling to do before he can remove the stone.
Right out, Mark. Okay, Mike, that's fine.
And the shooter is going to roll out of play, so it's a draw for 2 with the last rock at the opening end for Brad Gushue.
Mike would have liked to have stayed there, but he did the important thing. Didn't rub on the guard, give up a draw for 3, and Brad's team made a couple of good shots there to create this deuce, and they'll move on to the second.
Can I get away with a 9?
This is again communication shot for the team here.
They're going to a different path for Brad to make this draw, and that's what he's conferring with his front end.
All yours, should be perfect.
Wait.
Should be perfect. T-line. Clean it. T-line. Just clean. We're good. Just clean. Line's good. You got back in there anyway. Well, clean it. Clean it.
Great throw, Brad.
Come on, buddy.
With last rock in the opening end, Brad Gushue takes advantage, and he scores a deuce to jump into a 2-0 lead over Manitoba in this championship game.
It's bred for European tastes, but built for North American desires. With a seductive, ergonomic design, provocative performance, responsive power, sexy, low-profile wheels, eye-popping curb appeal, and superb handling in tight corners. Not to mention driveways, decks, and even those silly motor cars. The Karcher high-pressure washer. You really have no options.
Would you expect your car to protect you? With sensors that know where your seat is positioned and the severity of the crash so the airbags could react to you? Would you expect your car to put you in a more comfortable driving position? With pedals that could adjust to how long your legs are? The Taurus SE, with the most advanced safety system in its class and the only car in its class with power-adjustable pedals. Expect more.
Purex has gone to great lengths to give you a longer-lasting bathroom tissue. Purex Double Roll. With twice as many pillowy soft sheets on every roll, it takes forever to run out. Purex Double Roll. Pillowy softness that lasts twice as long.
Well, this is it, Bill. The final stone for Al Gilchrist. He's 2 down in the 10th. Hacker laying 3. Eddie. He needs to put this one right on the button. Nice body extension. Good weight. There's the hit. And there's the roll. Now that, folks, that is a great shot. He rolled the center line brilliantly.
The Karcher Junior Curling Championships on CBC. Brought to you by AMJ Campbell, proud to be the official mover of Curling Canada. By Ford, supporting the drive to achieve. By Nokia, proud sponsor of the Nokia Brier. And by Karcher, quality cleaning equipment.
Welcome back to St. Catharines, the second end of this Canadian Junior Men's Championship game. Manitoba and Newfoundland, with Newfoundland leading by a score of 2-0. During round-robin play, 2 facilities used to determine those who would go into the semifinal. The Jack Gatecliff Arena, just a short distance away from the facility that is playing host to this championship game, the St. Catharines Golf and Country Club. A beautiful facility in St. Catharines, about 1,200 members at this club, and many of them in a volunteer capacity for this Canadian Junior
Top four.
Championship.
Weight's good. Fight the 4 foot. Have a look.
And Newfoundland, now that they've got a 2-point lead, will play their first stone into the rings and force Manitoba to get aggressive here early in the game.
I saw Mike's early percentage over the round robin at 79%, and it says tied for 4th. All of those percentages were very close, within 1 or 2 percentage points of each other.
McEwen asking for the corner guard from his lead, Nolan Thiessen.
Soft weight's good. Weight's good.
He ranked third among leads during round robin play. The all-star teams for the junior championship chosen strictly on the basis of percentage during the round robin competition.
Right up.
And only 1% separating the two leads, so there's not much to choose from here. And again, so both teams are playing great, and we're gonna see some Roxon play in this end.
And this is in contrast to before the free guard zone, when the juniors had a tendency to just hit everything in sight, and we saw many games that were 3-2, 4-3, 2-1.
They weren't the only ones.
That's right, not only the juniors.
There was a lot of
pretty
teams that were playing that way. The free guard zone has changed a lot of that, giving us a lot of opportunity to see teams play a variety of shots throughout the game.
Mine's pretty good. Get ready. Yep. Hard now. Hard. Hard. Whoa. That's fine. Good. Yep. Whoa.
Great shot, Mikey.
And another perfect shot by Mike here early in the game, and again, forcing McEwen to get very, very aggressive here. This is a very aggressive play coming around to center guard with this one at the top 8 foot.
Tons of line.
Putting a lot of pressure on his team early to make some tough shots.
The option being, Mike, would be to peel that center guard, opening up your path to the 4 foot when you have last rock, making sure that you have a way to get a point.
Exactly, or even if you just peel it off and hope they only make a half guard on their next one. You know, there's a perfect guard like that's tough to get aggressive with.
Just here.
Let's go, dude.
Brad Gushue has to deal with this red stone that's sitting controlling the house. It's very nice and close. You can raise it. It can be used in Manitoba's favor, so he would like to make a play on it. But he has to be careful because there is a guard and there's a rock to jam it on.
Clean. Yep. Whoa. Okay, Brent, that's good.
Great shot.
Nice touch by Brent Hamilton, the youngest member of this Newfoundland team.
Good, buddy.
It's a great shot.
I think since the inception of the free guards, a lot of the skill sets of the junior curlers their touch shots have really improved over the years. When I was juniors in '86, as you mentioned, a 2-point lead was virtually insurmountable especially on good ice conditions. Teams were really good at peeling, but kids learn the game differently these days. They learn to play the draw game.
Hurry!
Hard! Whoa. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's good.
Brad McEwen is looking to bail out a little bit in this end, but those rocks are in just too good a position that he has to make a play on them so that he has some options with the later rocks in this end.
Yeah, throw it to us all day.
Things looking very good for yellow early in the end, and Newfoundland, it's a good position to be in guarding one of your own with actually another one of yours out front.
Weight's pretty good. Real close. Whoa.
During the round robin competition, Newfoundland lost 3 times to BC, Saskatchewan, and Ontario.
Clean it. Clean. Line's getting good. Tight. It's real tight. Well then.
But because they defeated Northern Ontario and Manitoba, they wound up getting the bye into the final. Combining 3 records from Northern Ontario, Manitoba, and Newfoundland.
What's he do?
That guard slipped a little deeper than Brad Gushue would have liked there. They do have an opportunity to double the guards off and possibly double the one off the top of the 8 foot as well. Big weight coming here.
Which every second needs to be able to throw.
Jordy Hargraves is going to get 2.
That gives Manitoba a little bit more comfort that they're not looking at one and that they're getting close to the 4 foot and giving more opportunity. Brad still in the driver's seat, though, has an opportunity with Mark's shot to get one into the 4 foot area.
And they've actually decided to play the race here, Joan. As you mentioned, Manitoba's not quite out of the fire yet, and Brad Gushue still controlling the end. He's comfortable with center guards and playing a lot of stones, a lot of nice soft touch draw shots early in the game.
Whoa. Whoa, line. Close. Whoa. Line's good. Whoa. Whoa, line. Whoa, Mike. Close. Whoa. Stop floor. Close. Whoa, yep. Yep. Hard. Hard. Come on. Quick. Hard. Go hard. Hard.
He taps it back behind cover. Newfoundland lies one.
But as you can see, it's directly behind the red guard. So the raise back, not a huge amount of separation. The raise back is there.
No, he would have liked to have tapped that 3 or 4 feet further and possibly straight back behind his own yellow. Good opportunity for Manitoba to throw the same shot twice in a row, and you never like doing that, regardless of who's throwing.
Yep. Hard. Yep, hard.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Denny Neufeld is only going to catch a corner of that stone he was attempting to raise, so Newfoundland continues to lie one.
And I think Manitoba is still looking at how much the rock will curl with hit weight in certain spots on the ice.
Okay.
A lot of the pillars mentioned this week that the ice was slightly sloped, and on the in-turn side coming towards in the even ends, there is a little bit more curl than there is on the out-turn side. And obviously going the other way, it's the opposite. The out-turn curls more than the in-turn does.
No. A little less.
Mark Nichols just played great all week. 80%, first among the thirds.
Whoa,
really set things up nicely for Brad all week.
It's got a curl.
And playing an aggressive style, curling 80% is quite difficult too. So you know he's been playing very, very well.
Curl, get ready though. Get ready. Yep, come on. Yep. Hard. 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 Hard, guys, come on, quick. Hard. Hard. Fine, buddy. Good sweep, guys.
I think that was just a little bit higher than what they were expecting. If the rock came a little bit farther into the free guard zone, tighter to the house, they'd have perfect line.
Yeah, just didn't curl quite enough, more so to the weight than any ice call. This leaves Manitoba an opportunity to play a hack weight hit and roll behind their own guard. Difficult though.
Got room.
Hack.
Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Just hack.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, whoa. 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 Move. Girl.
Just gets a rub off his own stone out front, but does come onto the yellow Newfoundland stone, and with enough weight to push it to the back of the 12, Manitoba lies one.
Really fortunate on that, Mike, that they did get that rub. I think even if they made it by.
I was guessing on the ice. Oh, I was guessing on the ice there really great.
McEwen confessing that he was guessing a little on the ice.
And that happens, even though you do get practice before the games. You're never quite sure. You can't have time to practice all the shots. So usually you're spending your time matching rocks, and you don't always get to throw the in-turn, the out-turn in every spot on the ice.
Whoa, whoa.
So a short little race here for Brad.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Curl.
And that biter hanging on at the back has Newfoundland lying one.
Brad would have liked to stick around with that raise back.
Yeah, they'll put it back a little.
This gives McEwen a good opportunity to play the come around, top 8 foot, and there's 2 guards to come around with some backing back there as well.
Pretty slick.
Yeah. Top 8, top 4.
Yeah.
Just a hair more. Yeah. Where's the weight? Should be lost. Oh, it looks like a ton, guys.
Pretty hot.
That looks like a ton. Lots of room.
Lots of weight.
First early test for Mike with draw weight, and appears to have thrown it quite a bit heavy. He may be able to get this out the back.
Hard. Hard Mark. Come on. Quick.
Hey, Mike.
It hangs at the back of the 12. Manitoba lies 1.
Slow it down.
Don't worry about it.
Stop.
Good news for Newfoundland. The stone is still open. Play a nice quiet weight tap back, force Manitoba to draw for their 1 point.
You threw a 9-7 last time.
Okay. If it's up or it's hanging out, we're going to go right back to the red.
Just looking for a draw in behind this guard.
Mid-9s.
Shade more, Mark.
Mid-9's ideal.
Okay.
It's interesting to compare how each team uses draw weight.
Top 4, guys.
Very much using numbers.
Whoa,
Manitoba very much using descriptive words.
This is an extremely aggressive call, though. Up 2. There's not really a lot of opportunity for Manitoba to score the 2 points if they do play a backline tap here.
Hard, guys. Hard! Quick! Hard! 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 Come on, Mike, push. Hard! That's good.
Right down on top of the red Manitoba stone, Newfoundland lies 1.
It's good always having a few options, I guess, on every shot.
Fast?
Yeah, nice shot. I just take my coat off.
Oh, didn't curl.
Just let it go.
Final stone of N2 coming out of the hand of Manitoba skipper Mike McEwen.
Same weight.
Wow, wow.
Good. Yep.
Throwing the same shot twice, it's always a good
Yep.
feeling.
Hard! 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 Hurry, guys! Hard!
Spy.
Yep, 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 yep. Hard, can't hurt it now. Hard! Hard! Shot, Mike.
Coming right down on top of the Yellowstone to pick up 1. With last rock on end number 2, Manitoba is on the board thanks to the good draw by skip Mike McEwen, and Newfoundland has a 1-point lead after 2.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Bill's family opened the store in '36. Now we're carrying on. Our customers feel free to ask questions. We've earned their trust. We're always on the go. We like it that way.
True value. Help is just around the corner.
Service, always first.
And here comes Silken. Silken will get the bronze medal ahead of Anne Martin.
Silken, is everything all right? Everything's just fine.
For more than 60 years, families like Silkens have been entrusting A&J Campbell Van Lines to move more than just their belongings. You could say they deliver peace of mind. A&J Campbell, Canada's largest coast-to-coast mover.
Before your gas line turns to ice, pour in a beaker of Prestone Cold Start fuel additive. It works double time, preventing gas line freeze and cleaning fuel injectors. Get in the Prestone zone with Prestone Cold Start, and nothing can stop you now.
Anne Marie will accept an award for special achievement. Holly Cole will perform, so will Lenny Gallant. A night of music, laughter, and fun. Songs to be sung, awards to be won.
Jonathan Torrens hosts the East Coast Music Awards, Sunday night on CBC. Brought to you in part by Nova Scotia.
That That's the Newfoundland cheering section on its feet here in St. Catharines as Brad Gushue leads Mike McEwen of Manitoba 2-1 after 2 ends of this junior men's final. A reminder, tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern, it's the Karcher Junior Women's Curling Championship. The defending champion Stephanie Miller Rink of Saskatchewan meets the Suzanne Goody team of PEI in a rematch of last year's final in Moncton. Don, we're set for the third end.
Yes, we are. And last year, of course, it was Saskatchewan defeating Prince Edward Island in the women's final by a score of 7-5. And it was Newfoundland losing in the men's final to Brad Kuhn of British Columbia on an extra end by a score of 8-7. And at the moment, Newfoundland with a 2-1 lead playing end number 3 in this year's championship game here in St. Catharines against Mike McEwen and company from Brandon.
That's good.
I think Mike McEwen has no choice here but to use the free guard zone. He needs this one. He needs this one out front.
And early in the game, it's not the very difficult shot, but certainly important for momentum for the Manitoba team. They'd like to set up a good end.
Oh, boy. It's good.
Nolan Thiessen, a baseball player, as we mentioned, played with the Brandon Cloverleafs, and Carmen Goldeyes as a right-handed pitcher this past season.
Brad didn't waste much time playing the come around in behind this tight center guard for Manitoba.
Whoa! Whoa! Top 12? Line's good, yep. Hurry! Hurry!
Important leave the shot in front of the tee line, and ideally you'd like to get just a piece of this buried so the Manitoba doesn't have a hit and roll buried.
Both can. Yep, come on. Hurt! All the way, hurt!
Team's very good at communicating weight and line.
And mission accomplished then.
Throw hack.
So with hack weight, Mike's asking his lead, Nolan, to hit right on the nose.
Yep.
We can update the Quebec Brier playdowns. Stoughton is leading Robert 6-4 in the 8th end in the semifinal. The winner will go on to face Guy Hemmings in the Quebec final this evening.
Throw.
The Brier representatives being decided across the country this weekend. Some have already been declared, but the majority to be decided either tonight or tomorrow. And some familiar names still in the chase for berths in the Brier that will take place in Ottawa in March.
Whoa! No. Clean.
Brad asking for the hit and roll behind the center guard again. Another option would have been to peel the center guard. That would be the more defensive play, but Brad continuing his offensive strategy.
Shot, Mike.
Mike looks pretty relaxed.
Throw a bump, George. Bump.
They've been enjoying themselves this week.
Well, meeting them it was a lot of fun because they obviously have a great sense of humor and they enjoy spending time together.
Bump. Yep. Hard. Hard. Whoa. Whoa. That works. That's fine.
The Manitoba team with a 9-3 record, an interesting run here in round robin play. They won their first 6, then lost 1, then won 3, and then lost 2. And Mike McEwen in 1998 in Calgary had an identical performance chart.
That's amazing. And the last 2 games of the round robin, as we mentioned earlier, if they had just won one of those, they would have made it into the final. But sometimes playing a semifinal is good. If you have your choice, you always like coming in off a good performance, and you've learned once how to deal with the sudden death pressure.
A hit and roll behind cover.
Great shot. Brent throwing really nice soft weight on that hit and roll. They were able to control the roll a little bit more.
Hargraves will now attempt to drive his own back onto the yellow Newfoundland block.
No.
Right out of his hand, Mike's calling no.
So usually an indication that he's a little outside, and he catches just a corner of the red rock and pushes it harmlessly past the shot stone belonging to Newfoundland.
And all the curlers seem to mention that the ice at the curling club was a little more unforgiving when you release the stone outwards, and the arena was a little bit more forgiving. So got to watch for that today. Anytime you move the stone back out a little bit, it's not going to come back.
Down a little.
Another great opportunity for Newfoundland to score 2 points there.
Where is it? Tight.
Right out of Brent's hands. Mark and Mike are sweeping this one hard.
Come on, guys. Come on. Harder. You got it. Come on, Mikey. Whoa, whoa.
A great sweep and an encouragement with each other. Let's go. We can make it there.
Well, Mike Adam and Mark Nichols certainly had to work on the delivery by Brent Hamilton, but they got it to the rings.
Mike McEwen is looking for a hit and roll. He's trying to group these stones now so that he has an opportunity to make a double.
He's made the right decision by hitting the outside stone. If you happen to hit this one on the center line and roll out, that would give Brad an opportunity to split the stones even further apart. So even if he doesn't make the roll here, it's going to force Brad into making a more difficult shot.
Danny Neufeld with a hit and roll off the stone in the outside of the 12. Neufeld, a student at Brandon University, but in the summer he works with his father at the Central Bakery in Gimli.
Not much resemblance there, Mike.
Every time you say Denny, I keep looking for his dad. But
pretty good. It's pretty
he's his dad. Hopefully his dad's got some time to watch the game. He's heavy into the Manitoba playdowns, and I think they're still close along to the A side at this point.
Yes, Chris Neufeld with Vic Peters in the Manitoba playdowns, and they are still alive.
Board weight, guys.
As are two of the other big favorites in Manitoba, Kerry Burtnick and Jeff Stout.
Board. Clean. 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 Whoa. Clean. Yep. Clean. Clean. Whoa. Whoa. Clean. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Hard. Whoa. Good. Shot.
They've left the Rocks group together where there is going to be a double.
There is a double. The angles are not great for Manitoba here, but it is possible.
Quarter, you'll be close.
It's going to require a pretty good shot here by Denny.
Heel.
As Mike indicated, about a quarter of a rock will be close to the double. Nah, that's not a lot of granite.
No, especially on ice that tends to run a little bit straight. You never set this back in here, you're going to see with a field goal.
Hard. Whoa. Whoa. Yep, hard. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
If you remember 2 ends ago, Denny had a hack weight in this exact same spot where it didn't move very much. So your tendency when you're replaying that shot is to make sure you get this going a little bit.
How thin was that?
You just turned it.
How thin was that?
How thin?
Yeah.
Quarter, eighth. Oh.
You know, it's a little easier double.
I thought it was half a rock. What?
Play normal. Just play this. Try and bump it over here.
Well, let me know. Quarter and eighth.
Normal?
Yeah.
Let me know when the half.
Brad's really respecting Manitoba's ability to hit here. He's trying to, again, roll into his own and spread his stones around. But it's always like kind of forcing the team to make the double. Don't try to make it for them. If you get the little cute with this, you might end up rolling out yourself.
Whoa.
Down a little.
Whoa, up.
Close.
Whoa. Yeah. Yes. Hard.
Hurry.
Hurry. Hard.
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 Well, he's going to execute a double, but that's not what he wanted.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. They got a little bit too cute with that. I think if you can force the opposition to make tough shots and then don't make it for them.
To go that crazy.
Wanted to hear whether they were talking about the rock picking, that really did make a sudden movement.
Board inside of yours.
Yeah, they seem to be a little bit surprised that it did curl that much. But Mike McEwen's happy to get out of this end. He was in a little bit of trouble there. You don't want to get down 4-1 early in this game.
We're down to Skip Rocks in the third end with Newfoundland leading 2-1.
Yep. Yep. Whoa.
Clean.
With the aggressive play that we're seeing Newfoundland use with a bit of a lead, the good news for McEwen is that the door is always going to be open to get back into the game. Newfoundland is not the kind of team that gets a little bit of a lead and plays very defensively. I think they believe a good defense is quite an aggressive strategy.
They obviously haven't blown enough leads yet in their career. I always tend to get up early. We like to play a little bit more defensively, but that's the beauty of being young in the Canadian Junior Final.
Clean it all the way. Normal. Clean. Yep. Whoa. Whoa. Off. Off. Don't touch it. What happened?
He's going to get just a corner of the Red Rock.
Pitchers over there.
I think Brad noticed the flash. Is he letting that go?
With a flash?
Yeah, somebody was taking a picture in the crowd, and that seemed to distract Brad Gushue.
Just as it was kicking out.
Anywhere is fine.
There was the flash, just as you may have caught it on his face, just as he was sliding out of the hack. So the offenders have been warned.
And luckily it didn't really cost him much. He still managed to make the hit.
T-line, make sure, guys.
That'd be an awful way to miss a shot in a Canadian Final.
Take a look. Whoa.
Sir.
Whoa.
The sweepers have a goal. They're looking for T-line, even though it's an open house.
That might help settle Mike down a little bit too, get his draw weight, get a little more comfortable. Because Brad Gushue and his team have really actually dominated play so far the first 3 ends of this game.
Just peel it out.
Okay.
But there's a lot of rocks to come.
There is.
So Gushue with the final stone of end number 3 wants to hit and roll off the red Manitoba rock and retain last rock advantage into the fourth.
Clean. 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 Just clean.
That's the word you want to hear.
Good throw, Brad.
And the 6-time junior competitor is going to do just that. He will maintain his 1-point edge and last rock to end 4.
You think that's something? Yeah. One time in high school, I ate 12 cheeseburgers at one time.
Yeah, well, when I was in college, I ate 30 hard-boiled eggs. Well, yesterday at lunch, I ate a great bowl of chicken stew. And then I ate the bowl.
New Tim Hortons chicken stew in an oven-baked bread bowl, hot and satisfying. With a medium coffee and donut, just $5.49. Come home for lunch at Tim Hortons.
And then I ate the bowl.
Look at all the places you can get your oil changed. Still, you push yours beyond 5,000 kilometers. 'Cause you're too busy? Well, I hope you don't have any pets. Hey, use your brain, save an engine. This is reformulated Quaker State. Protection beyond 5,000 kilometers under any driving conditions. It's been tested. And unlike some people's plans to change their oil on time, it works. Anybody say insurance? Reformulated Quaker State. Ask for it. What more do you need to know?
Sweet my coffee.
Mrs. Lang? We've got 10 million reasons. Who cued the band? Where is that? Hey, buddy! It's not my job to make the phone call.
Introducing Advil Liquid Gels, the only liquid gel that gives you effective migraine relief that's fast.
At Scott Paper, we've seen a generation of women aspire to compete at the Scott Tournament of Hearts. And we've had the privilege of being there from the start of some amazing careers. Join Scott Paper in our continued support of future champions. Scott Paper, celebrating 20-year sponsorship of women's curling.
Welcome back to the St. Catharines Golf and Country Club in St. Catharines, Ontario. After 3 ends, it's Brad Gushue of Newfoundland leading Mike McEwen of Manitoba 2-1. Tomorrow, it's the Karcher Junior Women's Curling Final at 1:30 Eastern, a rematch of last year's final in Moncton, and it features Saskatchewan and PEI, the Stephanie Miller team of Saskatchewan in this one, finishing the round robin in St. Catharines unbeaten at 12-0 as Stephanie Miller seeks to become the first junior women's skip to win back-to-back titles in 23 years. And she'll be going up against her arch rival, the Suzanne Goody rink from Prince Edward Island. During the round robin this week, Miller beat Goody 8-4 to remain unbeaten. And this Goody rink saying they have unfinished business this week, going 11-2. They'd like to turn the tables and beat Miller in tomorrow's final. And there's Stephanie Miller, her sister Marliese, and the rest of that team from Shellbrook, Saskatchewan, enjoying this men's junior final. Back to Don in the fourth end.
Yes, last year at the junior women's competition, Prince Edward Island finished atop the round robin standings with a 10-2 record. Saskatchewan was 9-3. Saskatchewan beat Tiffany Odegaard of Alberta in the semifinal game and then won the championship game. This year it was Saskatchewan on the women's side, unbeaten, a perfect record, and Goody defeated Carrie Lindner of Ontario in the semifinal game to advance to the championship, setting up the rematch tomorrow. But right now we're focusing on the men's final, and it is Newfoundland with a 2-1 edge on Manitoba, playing N4.
I think we can expect more of the same from Manitoba. A few more center guards, a few more aggressive moves.
Duder. You can see the leads playing really great early in this game. It's important to place the stones exactly where you want them early in the end.
Top four. Whoa. Stay close. So. Whoa. Top four. Yep. For line. Hard for line. Line only. Whoa.
Weight's good. It's got to come down a little.
Whoa. No. Off mark.
They'd like to stop top 8 foot. Higher the better.
Whoa. No.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Good. Mark. Tell him to throw 5 on the come arounds.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why we got it.
We were told to go 6 and then 5.
Yeah, I know.
Lot of line. Where is he?
Brad Gushue saying to Mark Nichols to remind Mike Adam to throw 5 on the come around.
So let's go at the end.
And they're referring to the rock number. They've obviously got one rock that curls more than the other one, and they want to use it on shots like this one where you're coming around the guard to make it finish hard.
Right up.
That'll work.
And I think you made a reference earlier, Mike, about the intern working a little more, playing the home end.
All the curlers this week have mentioned that the ice tend to be sloped a little bit that way, meaning all the sheets, not only the sheet we're playing on today, but all the sheets in the curling rink seem to curl more in turn coming in the even ends and the out turn going away. But Manitoba would have liked to make a little bit better freeze there. They left an opportunity here for Newfoundland to play a little backline weight and possibly lay 2 buried.
Yep. Whoa. Curl. Whoa. Hack. Yeah, whoa! Roll, Mark.
Delicate touch, and he pushes it through cleanly.
That's exactly what Mike was just talking about.
Really impressed with the Newfoundland communication there. The sweepers are constantly letting Brad know what the weight is, and the throwers actually are showing great touch. Not always easy to calm your nerves in a championship final like this.
Well, this is obviously the number 3 rock.
That's how technical the game has become, that we pick up these little tiny differences in curl.
Whoa! Good. That's good.
With the raise, he drives it back onto one of the yellow stones.
Another great opportunity for Newfoundland to split the rings. They've got one buried at the top 8 foot that's very difficult to access, and they've chosen to split the rings here, which is somewhat less aggressive than Brad's been indicating all game, but they know they've got a great stone in a great position. Anything they do would actually hurt that position. So they've decided to draw open, split the rings, and force Manitoba into a tough decision.
Whoa, it's lots. Tons. Whoa.
Certainly has been an indication of how the game has gone so far, with Brent Hamilton drawing to the open side again, and Jordy Hargraves throwing those run backs again. I think he's thrown a lot of those.
Good. Attaboy.
It just hangs at the back of the 12 July too. Brent Hamilton replacing Jamie Korab. on this Brad Gushue rink.
It's like this.
And Hamilton has
Get it
been
deep anyway.
very good in this championship game.
What's up, Brent? Yep.
And in all fairness to Jordy Hargraves is that he's been throwing those very hard, low percentage runbacks.
Whoa. It's good. Oh boy.
As deep as that stone came for Hamilton, it came into a perfect spot because now he's going to have a chance to freeze. Might not have been a bad idea for McEwen to roll out there, actually.
Line's good. Little less. Hurry. T. Hurry. Line's great.
And along
Right
the
to it,
same
guys. Freeze it.
lines that you were just referring
Line's
to, Mike,
perfect.
if they leave this one high, it will
Line's
give
good.
McEwen a
No
chance
bounce.
to get the
Whoa,
hit
whoa.
and roll
Should be light. It's
and
real
get
good.
himself out
Whoa.
of trouble.
Whoa. 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 Attaboy. Great shot. Shot, buddy.
Well, the way Brent Hamilton has been curling, you'd never know that he was a rookie on this Brad Gushue team. We were talking to Brad when he told us that he recruited Brent to play for him. He said he played hard to get for a couple of days, but then finally agreed to join us.
And I know in looking at the week's results, Brent took a little while to settle down. His first number of games, percentages a little low, and then he came on real strong and has been consistent ever since.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Hard. 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 Right up. Hurry hard, guys. Right up.
And Denny Neufeld, who plays third for the Manitoba rink, was also recruited. He was at the University of Manitoba, and he was approached by McEwen to join him out in Brandon. So he transferred to Brandon University, and he's in second year business at Brandon.
Yeah. Just this. Yeah, forward, guys. Go, buddy.
Brad Gushue not liking where that stone is. It's a little closer to the 4-foot, so he's chosen to hit this. Another option again would have been play the same freeze. I'd be tempted to play the freeze at this point at the end, but
Whoa.
he sees that McEwen will have a hit and roll into the 4-foot, like you mentioned, Joan, earlier, if they do play this shot.
Just close. Yep.
Nice quiet weight again, used by Newfoundland.
Whoa. 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 Pistol. Shot, buddy.
That's exactly what the call was.
88% at third for Mark Nichols. That's very, very high, especially in a Canadian final. The guys look very, very, very confident out there, though.
That's the line. Whoa, 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 whoa. 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 Whoa, whoa. Whoa, off. Normal. Whoa. Whoa. Ooh. Right on.
Neufeld's shooter will roll out of play. Newfoundland is left lying one.
I don't think that's entirely a bad thing, though. The way this end's gone, you know that Newfoundland's going to play the freeze had they nosed it. So rolling out's not so bad. And if you're Manitoba right now, you're hoping that this stone stops at the top 12, top 8, where they'll have an opportunity to hit and roll into the 4-foot area.
And that's exactly the way Manitoba needs to think. They need to think, we're going to wait for an opportunity, and we're going to get an opportunity. You can't be sitting in this situation this early in the game thinking that we're in real trouble.
Right where his broom is. Back 4, back 8. Take a look. Looks real good from here. Real good. Hard. Hard. It got to go a lot. Hurry.
Really like to get this behind the tee line.
Hurry. Hard. Come on, guys. Get a pass. Come on. Come on. Hurry. Okay, Mark. Came down pretty hard, eh?
Here's the break. It's not a great break, but at least it's an opportunity to get out of this end. This is the first chance all end that McEwen's had a chance to play a fairly aggressive shot, well, a shot that can benefit them somehow.
Oh, sugar. Good try.
A lot harder than Brent's. Brent's just kept sliding.
Oh, well, Brent had a lot more weight than you did. Coming in at the hog line. Roll or double?
No, there's no double.
Rolling 6 feet across the rings, buried behind a center guard, is not the easiest shot, especially when you really need it in a situation like this, Joan.
Mike, such a soft-spoken guy. Doesn't say a lot, but what he does say is very powerful. Strong silent type.
Whoa, whoa. Whoa. Whoa! Whoa. Close. Whoa. Whoa. No. Okay.
He doesn't get the roll he was hoping for.
Well, Manitoba is continuing to throw quite a lot of weight on their hits, even on their hits and rolls. Just a difference.
Stay dead straight, eh? Yeah.
Right here? Just come around that red one.
Yeah.
Just behind the
Right
tee
here,
is really
guys.
good.
Mark 84 on his down here.
It's another good decision by Brad Gushue here. They decided, instead of hitting that stone at the top 12, where would leave Manitoba double, they've elected to play the draw. They've played several times this end. They're comfortable with the shot. Sweepers know the weight.
And they know it needs to be deeper.
Back 4.
That's right. They don't want to leave the same
Right
hit and roll.
Line's weight. Line's great.
Just make sure it's back here.
Gotta go, Ben. Back 8, guys.
Just back 8.
You got some room. Well, if you can.
We're good.
Line's good.
Right here.
Whoa.
You just gotta be back here.
We're good. Hard.
Right here.
Hard.
Hard!
Hard.
Hard!
Hard.
Hard!
Hard, Mike. Hard.
Hard! That's a pretty good shot, Brad.
Had he carried the stone down there, he couldn't have placed it in a much better position.
Go a little bit more.
Brad only curling 92% thus far in the game.
A little more.
Yeah, it curls more too. It's good, but.
Yeah, you will. You'll be shot.
Oh, half. A little more than half.
It's a good opportunity now for McEwen to come down, hit the yellow stone, and roll his shooter right to the back of the forefoot. Yellow would have liked to have that stone go back another 3, 4, 5 inches just so this hit and roll wouldn't be there, although it is very difficult. And he has forced him to change turns, too.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Control.
It's gotta move.
Whoa.
It's gotta move. Close.
Whoa.
No.
Move, 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 move.
Throwing a ton of weight on those.
And as you mentioned, Joan, the weight, bringing that weight up, it's difficult to make a nice soft hit and roll. The sweepers don't really get involved in the shot as much as they could.
I said, Bob.
Okay. Clean it all the way if it's close.
Big jump shot here for Brad.
Don't be afraid to call Mark out.
Okay.
I'll throw it perfect.
Change turns again, though, as he did in the first end. Change the shot again. They obviously have been practicing on the ice, and they're comfortable with the weight all across the sheet. But I always seem to like to throw the same shot twice in a row.
Should be real good. Hard. Hard, Mike. Need help?
A draw for 2 on end 4. And that would
You're fine. Clean
propel
it. Just clean
Newfoundland into a 3-point edge. So Brad Gushue, with his final stone of the 4th, catches a piece of the forefoot. And after 4 ends of play, it's Newfoundland 4, Manitoba 1.
Judge. Great judge.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Shuttle, we're shutting down for a couple hours. Why don't you guys get some rest?
Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Introducing the Ford Escape. Imagine a world with no boundaries.
Introducing Nokia Mobile Messaging. Nokia,
connecting people.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
There are places on Earth where control is essential, where a single false step can be fatal. When that place is your wheat, Everest post-emergent herbicide is your lifeline. Everest is the first and only Group 2 herbicide to give you outstanding control of wild oats and green foxtail, the ones you know you've got, and the resistant ones you hope you don't. Stay on top of grassy weeds with Everest.
It is now time for my involvement in politics to come to an end. I will leave my duties as Prime Minister of Quebec. Je suis en politique active depuis bientôt 13 ans.
The National with Peter Mansbridge. Weeknights at 10 on CBC Television.
It's a 3-point Newfoundland lead over Manitoba after 4 ends in this Karcher Junior Men's Final. In St. Catharines, our next stop on the Season of Champions takes us to Sudbury in the Scott Tournament of Hearts, and here are the entrants already decided. Kelly Law, of course, Team Canada, the world champions from 1 year ago, and some familiar names: Heather Strong of Newfoundland, Colleen Jones in her 15th appearance in the Women's National Championship, the '99 junior champ Marie-France LaRouche from Quebec, and Sherry Maddaw of Ontario, the wife of Wayne Maddaw, representing Ontario in women's competition. That's all coming up in a couple of weeks from Sudbury, Ontario. To the 5th end now, Don.
And it was in Sudbury in 1983 where one of the major innovations in television curling coverage was introduced. The microphones that the curlers now wear. Ed Werenich defeating Ed Lukowicz that year in the final.
Top 4.
He had to use the mics to full effect, to my, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, we won't quote him as to what he said when he threw his final stone, but
Mike's been asked to put this one full forfeit. We don't need any more offense with a 3-point lead, is what the thinking is.
Great sweeping again by the Newfoundland team. Get that to the top 8, but that's perfect spot for that stone.
Halfway. Halfway.
Let's go hard, Jordy.
Mike McEwen really forced to. They're going to have to go all out at this point of the game. It's only the 5th end, but at this, only scored 1 point thus far in the game, and they've got to make some things happen.
well, I think during the break between ends 4 and 5, they may have talked about the weight they were throwing, because Manitoba has been throwing a little more weight on this ice, particularly the skip Mike McEwen with some of his hits.
I think they have to talk about, you know, that comfort zone, as you said, and comfort-wise, that weight might be good for you, but on this particular ice conditions, it's not being effective.
Yeah,
so you're going to have to bring it down.
I just want it short.
On its own.
Well then. Well, it's got to curl a bit anyway.
Halfway,
Mine's good.
halfway
Mine's good
tight.
What?
Tight.
Okay. Freeze it.
Top 12?
Freeze it. Come on, freeze them. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Free shot, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
That's fine.
Newfoundland lies 2. How about this? Roberge coming from behind to defeat Stoughton 9-8. So it will be Francois Roberge against Guy Hemmings in the Quebec final along the Briar Trail as provincial champions are declared today and tomorrow across the country.
Kind of wait.
It's a bit of a comeback there by Francois. He doesn't want to give up his Quebec title very easily. It should be a good final tonight.
More than that. Still house.
I like this call by Manitoba. You have to deal with these rocks that are in the top 4. But they're just looking to move them around, move the back one behind the T line so they can use it later. It's a great call.
They have to keep their shooter around. That's the most important at this stage of the game.
Roll it, Jordy.
Roll that hard, 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 hard.
Good.
It's a good shot. It's a great shot. They did manage to move it behind the T line. The whole thinking is you'll be able to use it later.
A little tight there. Here.
No, you're good. That's good.
Mike McEwen is a man of few words. He doesn't say much during the course of the game, concentrating on watching the opposition throw stones as well as his own team.
Hard! 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 Whoa! Whoa!
Brent had a bit of a wobble coming out of the hack.
Curl. Curl. Hard, Brad.
Got away with one there.
That was plan B. They weren't looking to hit that one on that side, but he did get away with it.
Good news for McEwen, though. He has spun his own stone behind that corner guard and leave a good opportunity for freeze or possibly just a straight come around. A lot of yellow stones in play, but that's good for Manitoba at this stage of the game. None in that control zone in the 4-foot area.
Where is he? It's gotta go.
Line's good.
And these are very difficult shots.
Gotta go
Perfect
hard.
freeze. In your mind, you're thinking about how can I throw this rock? What's my options? And his option is to be short. He can't really be heavy and miss everything altogether. He needs to keep some rocks in play.
Right up, right up, right up.
But he will be disappointed in how short that one is.
Good news is it is behind the corner guard, and Brad Gushue is going to have to peel off that center guard, the red corner guard. It's always a little uncomfortable peeling, but that's this many stones in the rings as well. You know, if you turn this over a little bit, there's lots of stones to jam on in the house.
Whoa! Clean. Clean. Attaboy. Shot, buddy. Shooting, buddy.
Hamilton peels the corner guard.
He just continues to play great. He looks very comfortable out there.
Depending on the angle.
And Mike's still going to use that rock that's behind the tee line. This is, again, a good call.
That task assigned to Manitoba's second,
good.
Jordy Hargraves.
Freeze it, guys.
It's got to go.
Line's good. Line's good.
Jordy just threw this one.
Sweeper's working really hard. This has got a long way to go before it gets anywhere near a freeze.
All right.
And now there's a chance for Gushue to
Is this fudging a lot?
get rid of both of those stones.
Tough double. Looks like the stone on the left's going to rub off his own yellow, so he's got to be careful with the weight that he throws. He's going to, I imagine he'll be throwing this one pretty hard.
Yeah. Just this here is fine. Keep it firm. Actually, throw here just to make sure we get off. All right. Whoa! Ah!
Well, he certainly threw firm weight.
No! Finish. Grab that.
That's basically what he wanted. Clean house.
It's a great shot.
Well, and with big weight like that, you know rocks are going to be moving, so you don't have to hit it exactly right.
Did I? Yeah. Okay. I must have forgot.
Now 4-1. He doesn't mind losing a few of his own stones at this stage of the end. Still in a good position to force Manitoba to score one. Got two splitting in the rings pretty well.
And on the other side of the coin, Manitoba still has a rock behind the tee line that they can use. They can make a great freeze on.
Line's good. It's not bad. Line's good.
Manitoba really needs to make a nice freeze at this stage again. They really haven't made too many touch shots yet, and they haven't been really close either on the last few draws.
Hard! Hurry, guys, hard, right up, hard.
Again, they're going to come up short in their attempt to freeze to the stone back of the tee line.
It's just, what'd you get for time there?
50. It's big time flat up the middle.
Jeez.
Already talking about the ice flattening out.
And that's early in the game.
Let's just try here.
At 50, they're talking about the split time from the back line to the first hog line.
Just normal?
350.
Yep.
You sure?
Longer the split time, the slower they're coming out.
And what happens with ice that is fairly straight and you're using the same paths over and over again, the chances of it fudging or slowing down on those same paths get higher and higher.
This is a bit of a concern, though. It's only the fifth end. You don't like seeing any pebble break down this early in the game.
Off. Off, Mike.
Being up 3-1, it's a good thing for Newfoundland, though. It's going to make touch shots more and more difficult.
Okay. Shouldn't do.
4-1 Newfoundland leading, and they have 2 stones in the rings.
You did say
okay.
Where is he?
Weight's good.
There. A lot of line. It's not bad. Just make sure he's on it.
It's topping a bit.
Line's good. Make sure it's there.
Topping a bit.
Really good.
Line's good.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
This time, Neufeld comes right down on the face of the yellow Newfoundland rock.
It's really fudging, eh?
Well, the line was, or the weight was great. Line not quite perfect.
Nice thing on fast ice for Newfoundland at this point. When you do play peels, it's very easy to spring these rocks that are partly frozen.
He's fudging. Maybe a second.
Huh? By a second or so. Yeah.
Neufeld just passing along to Mike McEwen the information that it's about a second slower.
Whoa, whoa.
That's a lot this early in the game.
It's fine.
By clearing house, this is going to give Manitoba, an opportunity to blank the end and move on to the 6th and hopefully set things up better.
Back on you. Yeah, you're sliding a little tight.
And Newfoundland's happy to get another end under their belt. The 3-point lead, the more ends they can get through with this lead, the better for them.
How much weight?
Peel.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yep.
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 Yep. Whoa. Clean. Clean. Shot, Mike.
McEwen is right on target.
And there's not much discussion for Brad.
No, he could pretty much have been down in the hack, ready to throw immediately. The McEwen rock came to rest because he knew what he was going to do.
Threw this exact shot in the 3rd and when the flash went off, so hopefully we'll go on. No flashes this shot.
I think the offenders have been warned.
Whoa. Well, clean it.
I don't think that was a screech.
Clean. Whoa.
Hang on, my shoe's on top.
Whoa.
That's fine.
Whoa. You're good. Curl it here.
Cut, Brad.
Whoa.
Well, he's going to force McEwen to make a pass at the stone.
Just hanging on.
Good in.
That's up, eh? Okay. Fifth end break already. Jeez. It's going to be over before we know it.
He hopes.
And that's how it feels when you're playing really well. 5th end break already. When it's not going so well, you're going, oh, this game is dragging.
Yep. Hard. Hard.
Hard!
Hard.
Hard!
Hard.
Right up!
Hard, guys. Hurry hard. Shot.
And he gets the nose hit. The shooter stays right there outside the rings. And McEwen is successful in blanking end number 5. So at the midpoint of this championship game, Manitoba continues to trail Newfoundland by 3.
In racing or on the road, top quality replacement parts are a must, which is why I recommend the full range of UAP Napa parts. UAP Napa, the right brand for the job.
As official supplier to curling's Season of Champions, True Value Hardware presents quality products for your house. Our own Master Mechanic brand is made to last. All hand tools have a lifetime guarantee on workmanship and material. Master Mechanic, your purchase of a lifetime. True Value, around the corner from your house.
In racing or on the road, top quality replacement parts are a must, which is why I recommend the full range of UAP Napa parts. UAP Napa, the right brand for the job.
The Canadian Curling Association appreciates, understands, and wishes to acknowledge the importance of local sponsorship to curling teams across Canada throughout the curling season. In an effort to recognize local corporate support of teams which have achieved the privilege of representing their province or territory at a Canadian Curling Championship, we are pleased to provide some deserving profile to their respective corporate supporters.
Back in St. Catharines, a look at the old Welland Canal. There are three. The last one was built in 1932, bisecting the Niagara Peninsula, providing a staircase of water climbing 300 feet from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. Here at the fifth end break in St. Catharines, it's Brad Gushue leading Manitoba's Mike McEwen by a score of 4-1 after 5 ends. It's been a game in which Brad Gushue has dictated the terms to his counterpart from Manitoba. Here's the scoring recap for Brad Gushue. He scored 2 in the first end with a draw, and then another draw for a deuce in the fourth, and that 4-1 lead. We heard you chuckling there in the fifth end, Brad, that you couldn't believe it was the fifth end break already. I guess that's what happens when things are going well.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, we wanted to come out and have fun, and I think that's what happened last year. We got away from that, and we're really trying to enjoy ourselves and, you know, play the game we usually play, and you know, things have been going great, and time is flying. Like, you know, we're having so much fun, we don't want it to end. Well, but you know, it's just going so fast.
I wanted to ask you about that. Where did you find the nerve? Where did you find that resolve after coming to terms with that disastrous final end last year?
It took a while. You know, the first little bit was hard, but you know, you got to realize that you know, it's only one shot. I could have missed that shot in the fourth end or the second end or any other end. It's just unfortunate I missed it in the 10th. But you know, I learned from it, and I think that's the main thing. And I'm bringing it into this game. So.
Well, Brad, you're looking confident and relaxed. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Brad Gushue of Newfoundland leading 4-1 here over Manitoba. To the booth now, and here's Don, Joan, and Mike.
Well, Mark, I think there is a consensus among the three of us that Newfoundland appears to be pretty relaxed out there, and Brad Gushue definitely benefiting from his experience and disappointment of a year ago.
Well, he's looking great. He's looking confident. His team is chatting. They're communicating. They're doing all the little things very well. But it's not over for Manitoba. There's 5 ends left. Manitoba has to think all they need to do is get 2 points, and they're right back in this game.
How does Manitoba go about getting 2 points, Mike?
Well, they don't have much option. They've got to start throwing up guards. They really have to start making some touch shots. So Newfoundland has been throwing the majority of the made touch shots thus far in the game, and Manitoba's really been struggling with draw weight. So they're going to have to find a way to find that elusive draw weight so far. And I think you know, they've got their hands full. They've got a long way back into this game.
Now, talking with their coach, Ed McEwen, during this fifth end break, they're probably going to be talking about the weight that they've been throwing and some of their takeout attempts as well. Would you agree?
I think they have to talk about communicating. They're very quiet out there, and I think there's a lot of nerves. I'm guessing, but Mike is looking really nervous to me. They have to talk about how they can talk through things about draw weight, about takeout weight, and about strategy.
Well, we'll find out what Mike McEwen might be thinking. He's with Mark Lee.
And Don, here's the scoring recap for Mike McEwen. He had 1 in the second with a draw and then blanked the fifth end to try to set something up, I'm sure, to set the table in the second half of this match. Mike, how do you feel the way things have gone so far? Joan was just saying she thinks your rink needs to communicate a bit more.
Well, we are pretty quiet out there, but we're not really controlling our weight very well. So we'll hopefully in the next 5 ends set some things up, get our deuce back, and keep it close.
Gushue has been dictating the terms of this match. How can you take it back from him?
I think we just got to beat him to the 4-foot. We're not really putting any pressure on him right now, so that's something we have to do in the next 5 ends.
Any nerves early in this first National Junior Championship for you and your team?
I'm all right. I don't know about my team, but I'm I'm not too nervous out there. We've been in lots of pressure games, so I think we're handling it all right.
The interesting thing is you guys won the Brandon Zone and could have been challenging for a spot in the Brier from Manitoba. You chose to come here instead, and now you have a chance for a national championship.
Well, I don't know if we'd be a big contender in the men's. We would have liked to go on and done both, but we're happy to be here.
All right, Mike. Well, good luck the rest of the way here in the championship.
Thank you.
Mike McEwen of Manitoba, his team trailing by 3 to Brad Gushue of Newfoundland after 5 ends of this junior championship. When we come back, we'll rejoin Brian Williams at CBC Sports Saturday Control.
It's bred for European tastes, but built for North American desires. With a seductive, ergonomic design, provocative performance, responsive power, sexy, low-profile wheels, eye-popping curb appeal, and superb handling in tight corners. Not to mention driveways, decks, and even those silly motor cars. The Karcher high-pressure washer. You really have no options.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Are you ready for this? Kick old man winter in the teeth with Prestone Antifreeze, the #1 way to fight corrosion and protect your radiator to 64 below. Get in the Prestone zone with Prestone Antifreeze, and nothing can stop you now.
Hockey. The fast pace. I think it's time for a break between periods. You know, being a big brother only takes a few hours a week, and the benefits last a lifetime. It's safe, it's fun, and best of all, there's always someone cheering for you. So don't get called for delay a game. Call to become a big brother today. You might just get drafted after all.
And if you are just joining us, good afternoon from Toronto. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to CBC Sports Saturday. We'll get back to St. Catharines Junior Curling in just a minute. One game in the National Hockey League just about to get underway. It is New Jersey at Pittsburgh. Devils with 68 points, 1 up on Ottawa in the Eastern Conference. Thursday in Detroit, Red Wings beat Toronto 2-1. Tonight is the rematch at the Air Canada Centre. For a preview, let's go just a couple of blocks from here. And here's Ron McLean. Ron?
Brian, thanks a lot. As you see, all's quiet at the Air Canada Centre downtown Toronto right now, but it'll be jammed to capacity this evening for the one and only visit of a former great rival of the Maple Leafs, the Detroit Red Wings, who aren't in the same conference anymore, but nonetheless, with 6 Toronto boys in the lineup, there was a real crush for tickets in the dressing room this morning here at the ACC. Red Wings trying to get their family in to support them tonight. It's the 633rd career meeting between these two teams, and believe it or not, they're dead even. I think most people know 270 wins apiece and 92 ties. Always a great click, and it's the second half of a home and home. That's one of our early telecasts. The other is in Ottawa tonight, and that's also a dandy matchup and a bit of a rivalry. Buffalo and Ottawa are in the same Northeast Division, and really 4 years ago when they first met in the playoffs set the tone for why it is that the Sabres and the Sens always have a good following at their respective arenas. Those are the early games. Game 2 of the doubleheader. Calgary's into Vancouver, coming off a huge 5-3 victory last night in Colorado. Jeff Cowan's game winner, the difference, and Mike Vernon tremendous in net. That's a tough trip for Calgary, but a critical game for them against the Canucks. And we'll also be updating Rick DiPietro and the New York Islanders are into Montreal to take on Martin Raczynski back with the Canadians. Plus, more on the Owen Nolan suspension. 11 games for the hit on Grant Marshall. I don't have any inkling, Brian, on what Don Cherry's going to have to say about it. Tried to call him this morning, but he's got a scouting meeting with his Ice Dogs organization. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about that, plus the hot stove panel, and we'll get into the Phoenix ownership situation on the headliner, all beginning with Labatt Saturday night tonight at 6:30 Eastern. Brian.
Thank you, Ron. We're not sure what Don will say. I'm sure, though, he'll refer to him as Olin Nolan. Let's update golf this afternoon. Buick Invitational at La Jolla. A couple of Canadians. David Moreland IV birdied 4 of the first 6 holes, bogeyed number 7. He is right now 4 shots off the lead. Mike Weir has moved to 10 under. Women are in Hawaii. Laurie Kane, AJ Ethorn, 2 behind Annika Sorenstam. They have yet to start play. Big news in freestyle skiing. A World Cup competition today in Japan. Tammy Bradley from Vancouver, gold, and also gold. This is in the moguls competition to Stéphane Rochon from Saint-Sauveur in Quebec. That brings you up to date here this afternoon. We're going to take one more break, and when we return, we'll take you back live to the Niagara Peninsula area of southern Ontario, just southeast of Hamilton. There it is, the ice surface at the St. Catharines Golf Club. We'll get back to junior curling. Rejoin Don Whitman and company right after this.
Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Look at all the places you can get your oil changed. Still, you push yours beyond 5,000 kilometers. 'Cause you're too busy? Well, I hope you don't have any pets. Hey, use your brain. Save an engine. This is reformulated Quaker State. Protection beyond 5,000 kilometers under any driving conditions. It's been tested. And unlike some people's plans to change their oil on time, it works. Anybody say insurance? Reformulated Quaker State. Ask for it. What more do you need to know?
You think that's something? Yeah. One time in high school, I ate 12 cheeseburgers at one time.
Ooh. Yeah, well, when I was in college, I ate 30 hard-boiled eggs. Well, yesterday at lunch, I ate a great bowl of chicken stew. And then I ate the bowl.
New Tim Hortons chicken stew in an oven-baked bread bowl. Hot and satisfying. With a medium coffee and donut, just $5.49. Come home for lunch at Tim Hortons.
And then I ate the bowl.
When back pain slows you down, turn to Robaxacet with 2 active ingredients, one to relieve back pain, the other to relax tense back muscles. It's the brand doctors and pharmacists recommend most, so you can get back in the swing. Robaxacet, helping you walk away from back pain.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Welcome back to St. Catharines, Ontario, on the shores of Lake Ontario. We're at the 5th end break of this Karcher Junior Men's Championship Final, with Brad Gushue of Newfoundland leading Mike McEwen's rink of Manitoba by a score of 4-1. Now some developments in the Nokia Brier Provincial Playdowns. This is the final from Quebec. Francois Roberge with a deuce in the 10th, coming back to beat Blake Stoughton 8-9 in the semifinal. He will play Guy Hemmings tonight in the final to see who will represent Quebec in the Nokia Brier. Further west to Northern Ontario, the Iceman Al Hackner, the 2-time world champion, leading Bruce Melville 2-1 at the 5th end break of that semifinal. Bill Adams is awaiting the winner in the final tonight. We're just about set for first rocks here in the 6th end. The Newfoundland crowd has been very vocal here in the midsection of this jam-packed St. Catharines, Ontario Golf and Country Club. Don?
Well, Mark, the Newfoundland supporters are certainly having some fun in the stands as they try and encourage Brad Gushue to that province's first ever national junior championship. Suzanne Goody and her teammates watching this junior men's final. They'll be in action tomorrow afternoon against the defending champion Stephanie Miller of Saskatchewan, and we'll have the junior women's final for you. And the winners of the men's and junior titles will represent Canada at the World Junior Championships that will take place in Ogden, Utah. And of course, in 2002, Ogden, Utah will be the site of the Olympic Curling Championships. Salt Lake City, the host city, but the curling will take place outside of Salt Lake in Ogden, Utah, about 40 minutes outside of Salt Lake City.
Top 8. Line's good. Weight's good. Whoa, looks like lots. No, weight's good.
Brad going top of the 8-foot again. Always notice after 5th end break, Joan, that the ice gets a little bit quicker. No one out there for a few minutes. The ice cools down a little bit, and quite often this first rock will slide a little deeper.
Well, the ice makers have had some changing weather conditions to contend with in preparing the playing surface. It was cool the other day, and then it snowed, then rain. The temperature went up to 13 degrees, and then overnight it cooled off again with a little snow this morning.
Ice makers have a lot of factors to deal with when they're getting ready for this final, and one is the weather outside, and the other is so many more people in the building on both sides of the ice. And they need to prepare the ice, and as Mike had said earlier, once the ice starts to break down, there's no bringing it back, so they have to err on the side of caution and make the ice very cold, and it changes a little.
Nolan Thiessen, as we mentioned, hoping to make a return trip to Ontario this summer as a member of the Manitoba Canada Games team.
Here, Les.
Canada Games to be held in London in August. Mike Adams shares accommodation in St. John's with Mark Nichols, the two young men from Labrador, and we're saying they hope when they return home, someone has been kind enough to shovel out a path to their house. So for those folks listening back in the St. John's Curling Club who know where Mark and Mike live, they'd appreciate it. With all the snow you've had out there, if you'd shovel a path to their home when they return home on Monday, they can get back into the building.
And again, 2 stones from top of the 8-foot, good spots for Newfoundland, and it's McEwen's going to have to deal with these stones right off the bat here.
Mine's good.
He's calling for the freeze
Just freeze
on the second shot stone. I think his other options is what he did on the other ends, where the tap back behind the
don't move.
We're there.
Gotta move.
We're there.
Where is he?
We're there. We're tapping.
Through?
Through the, yeah.
No, not
Lots
yet.
of weight.
Not yet.
Has he got the hole between those two stones?
No. All right.
Okay.
Looks like it just slid open.
Hot, eh?
Yeah, if you get front, it's not awful.
Brent Hamilton, the youngest member of this Newfoundland foursome, will attempt to pick the red stone.
Clean. Hip. Hard! 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 Good.
Come on, Brent, you can smile.
When things are going right, they're going, it seems easy to make those kind of shots, but that was a very difficult shot, Mike.
And Brent's looking he's the quiet one on the team, it appears, and first time in the final. The other 3 guys do have a little bit more experience, and perhaps he is a touch more nervous, but he's playing awesome.
Line's good.
Weight's good.
Top 12. Line's real good. Just gotta move a bit.
Topping a bit.
Okay, line's perfect.
Like to key up this freeze on the inside of the yellow stone.
Whoa.
Weight's
Just
there.
freeze.
Whoa,
Just freeze.
whoa,
Just
whoa,
freeze.
whoa.
Just freeze.
All right. It's just a tap, but that could be a difficult stone to remove cleanly.
Yeah, bumped a little further than he would have liked, but in terms of difficulty, this is a relatively simple shot for Brent, and these guys like throwing the big weight, and they do throw very, very accurately. So, and good news for Newfoundland, they wouldn't mind actually losing one of those 2 stones. If they actually nosed it and lost the backstone, it wouldn't be the end of the world here.
Hard! Hard! Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Brent Hamilton gets the object stone, takes out one of his own. Newfoundland is left line 1. Or pardon me, line 2.
Wanna go here?
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Oh, it's just harder going towards the boards, isn't it?
We can hit and roll that too, eh?
I like this.
Okay.
I think this is a better call, Mike. The hit and roll, at this point, you want rocks in play, and with the hit and roll, you run a greater chance of losing your shooter.
Good.
That would give Newfoundland an opportunity to peel the corner guard and really get another end out of the way.
Top 8.
Time is on Newfoundland's favor at this stage of the game.
Hard. Weight's there.
Okay, whoa. Back here's fine. Yep, yep, yep. That's good. That's good, that's good.
Manitoba with shot stone delivered by Jordy Hargraves.
That's good.
You want to just freeze that top one? You want to just play a little hit and roll?
Whoa. Well, up.
Mark Nichols will peel and will also remove one of his own. Manitoba still has shots, so there is the opportunity here for Manitoba to perhaps get the deuce they were shopping for.
That was a good call by Brad Gushue, though. He knows that he has the stone at the top 8 foot. The rings are not very big right now for Manitoba. There's not a lot of room for them to get that second stone in there. So he knows that at some point during this end, he's going to have two red stones fairly close together, leave himself a good opportunity for a double.
Leave it.
Don't worry about it.
He's an idiot.
Nothing like
Top
saying that
four.
on national TV.
Despite the 4 is good.
Tough come around here for Manitoba, trying to get this around a stone at the top 12 foot. Very difficult on ice that really isn't all that swingy.
It's gonna go a bit.
But if there's anywhere where it's going to move, it's going to be in this in-turn spot coming into the 4 foot.
Line's good.
Take a look, guys.
Yep.
Take a look.
Where is
There.
it? It's
Take
there.
a look.
Yep.
Whoa, whoa,
Yes.
whoa,
Room.
whoa.
Whoa.
It's looking very good.
Whoa. Just.
Yep, yep.
No, 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 no.
Beautiful come around.
Manitoba now lies 2. That would have been very interesting had this rink not come to the juniors and they played in the Manitoba Playdowns. It could have been Denny Neufeld throwing third stones for Mike McEwen, possibly going up against his father,
Denny
playing for
Neufeld.
Vic Peters in one of the
You want the same weight or?
round robin
give me the same
games.
weight this time.
And as good a shot of that was, as we mentioned, at this stage of the end, Brad's got a very short race here. The stones are only about 1.5 foot apart. Anything on the high side here does leave him a chance actually for a raised double.
Hard. Hard.
It's very close to top one.
I think he actually did rub the top one, didn't he?
He did. He did rub the top one. Got very fortunate with that result. They'll take it, though.
He rubbed the top, but he removed the 2 red stones. Take another look.
Just got a little redirection.
Nice slide.
What?
Nice slide.
Yeah, whatever.
Better lucky than good sometimes.
Well, you need a combination of both to be successful.
It's normal control.
And Mark Nichols with this shot was both good and lucky.
Whoa. Troll. Whoa. Whoa. Yep.
Whoa, whoa,
Whoa.
whoa.
Whoa. No. Close.
Yep.
No.
Whoa.
No.
Yep. Roll it hard.
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 Really not seeing a lot of movement at all there on that side of the ice. Soft, soft weight.
Why did he get lucky on that one?
Chopped that foot inside.
Should have just picked his own, man.
That can be discouraging when you think you've got things set up going your way and the opposition gets a break.
Brad Gushue's made an interesting indication here. You indicated he'd like to hit and roll behind this stone on the center line. I think it might be better just to have it where it was and leave force Manitoba to a difficult shot.
Hard. Yeah. Hard. 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 Hard, Mike. Roll it, Mike. Hard, Mike. Hard. Hard.
Change your mind halfway down there, look like.
Little firm. Firm.
Sometimes it's a sign of a good team is that they acknowledge what they did wrong.
Threw too much on you. Sorry.
There's nothing worse than throwing it wrong and not admitting it.
Settle the weight down a little bit. It's fine. If he makes it, it's only 6 foot run back.
He's anticipating the possibility of Manitoba making the hit and getting the roll, and as he said, it's only a 6 foot run back, so he's already got his shot plotted.
Sounds easy, doesn't it?
Bob.
Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa.
No. Okay, Mike. Shot.
It's a nose hit, however, for Manitoba. So things become much easier for Brad Gushue with his final stone of this 6th end.
Mike McEwen throwing really soft weight. We're just seeing a really straight spot there.
Need negative ice, eh? Yeah. It's dead straight there.
Now, for those who may not be familiar with the term, the reference to negative ice, what does that mean?
Well, that means the spot you actually throw it in, the stone doesn't curl with the handle that you actually turn. It actually falls away from the broom, exactly. So it's tough ice to play on, tough ice to make hit and rolls on particularly, and impossible to play come rounds on.
Right off. Yep. Hard. Sorry, guys. Fine.
Now this time McEwen needs to hit and stick with his final stone. But he will relinquish control of end 7 to Brad Gushue.
Never threw it well. You just got a little. I put it back in. I could feel it when I was letting it go. Yeah. All right. Weight was good though. Good force. Yeah.
This will be important to see how McEwen will bring his weight down. You know, he's had trouble overthrowing the stone in the past few ends, so this is a very straight spot. Anything from hack to board weight will probably be sufficient.
A little bit more. Clean.
He did,
clean it.
Did throw a real nice soft one on his first swing, Mike, in the exact same spot.
Throw, Mike.
Mike McEwen is right on target. He picks up a single point on end number 6 and heading to the 7th. He trails Brad Gushue of Newfoundland by 2.
In racing or on the road, top quality replacement parts are a must, which is why I recommend the full range of UAP Napa parts. UAP Napa, the right brand for the job.
Quadra Action from Philishave has a unique combination of slots and holes, eliminating both long and short hairs at the stroke of a hand. It's waterproof, so it rinses clean. A virtually effortless shave. It saves energy for other things. The new Quadra Action from Philishave.
Well, this is it, Phil. The final stone for Al Gilchrist. He's 2 down in the 10th. Hacker laying 3. Eddie, needs to put this one right on the button. Nice body extension. Good weight. There's the hit. And there's the roll. Now that, folks, that is a great shot. He rolled the center line brilliantly.
In racing or on the road, top quality replacement parts are a must, which is why I recommend the full range of UAP Napa parts. UAP Napa, the right brand for the job.
Did you see this one? I saw that one. What did you think? I didn't like it.
Political cartoons in trouble.
I thought it was funny. You didn't think it was sexist? No.
Dennis, what is this? Never said I want to be bought at a deep base.
Strictly business, man. On the next Drop the Beat.
Do you want me to admit that I screwed up? I just don't see why Project Floor has to suffer because you got a problem with me.
Monday, 9:30 on CBC.
They're watching from both sides of the glass here at the St. Catharines Golf and Country Club. Standing room only for this Karcher Junior Men's Final as Brad Gushue of Newfoundland leads Mike McEwen of Manitoba 4-2. A 2-point lead with 4 ends to go. Still lots of curling left in this final. A reminder tonight on Hockey Night in Canada. The Red Wings are in Toronto to meet the Leafs, fresh from a 2-1 win Detroit had on Thursday night. The Ottawa Senators are home to the Buffalo Sabres in Canada. That one at 6:30 Eastern as well. And then the nightcap, out west, Calgary at Vancouver, followed by After Hours, the interactive post-game show with Scott Russell and Kelly Rooney. To the 7th end on.
A 2-point spread, Newfoundland on top.
Way out there.
And the strategy on the part of Manitoba, if they can't steal on this end, to give up one and then come back on end 8 and get 2 or maybe even more.
Grind.
But things don't always work out as planned. On the last end, it looked as though Manitoba had things going their way when Mark Nichols got a bit of a break.
Huh?
Bit of
a break, but you know, just a bit. A half-inch wider, you wouldn't even question it. But a half-inch tighter could have cost them 3 points. So you need a few good breaks along the way to win games like this, and you also create them too. Old saying: the more you practice, the luckier you get sometimes.
Tight top 12. Whoa, room.
There is
Clean.
still time in this game.
Mine's
4
good.
ends left.
Top 12, top 8.
There's
Only if you
lots
got
of
to.
momentum that
Top
can
4.
swing
Whoa.
and shots made and missed.
No,
Oh,
looks like
it's
tons.
all on its own.
Yeah, Weaver.
Whoa, it's way back.
Back's by itself.
Fuck.
This Newfoundland team has played about 50 games this year as a team, and they've won about $15,000 on the Cashspiel circuit.
That's the first real mistake we've seen from Newfoundland thus far in the game. So perhaps they can see the goal, the light at the end of the tunnel, and the nerves might start to kick up here in the last few ends.
Wait, it's good. Just over.
Feels better.
And as a player, I know a
Gotta
lot of
move
times
a
we
bit.
talk about you got to play
move.
the entire game. You
not
can't
bad.
think that you've won it early.
Get off that
just high.
4
Things
foot
can go
line.
wrong in a hurry and the momentum changes.
Good. That's good.
Played a little tight on the first one, eh?
I think we'll see Brad play a little more defensively as the game wears on. Mike like to regroup here, throw a good shot.
Yep. Clean. Yep. Clean. A little bit. That's fine. That boy, Mike.
That was a little better.
And that's exactly what he did. It's a big mental preparation for that shot is to let go of your first one, let go of the miss, and prepare for your second one.
You know, when you take a look over the years at the success that Manitoba has had at the Brier level, it's not really reflected in junior play. Only 5 times has Manitoba won the
Just high,
National
guys.
Junior Championship. The last in 1995.
Just over is good.
How important is the placement of this guard, Mike?
Well, I think they made a bit of a mistake on their first one. The first one was really actually a corner guard almost. It's off the center line. So if you're Newfoundland, you're not that concerned about the first one on the end. The one on the center line is the one that's going to cause you problems, and you'll see Brad continue to peel that as we move on through the end.
There's also a chance of grouping those stones and leaving a double peel. Whenever you're
Clean.
putting the 2-guard situation, that's what you could leave.
Attaboy. Shot, Brent.
The early indication is that Brent Hamilton has a good shot, and he does.
Maintaining his good play, 96% through 7 ends. So for 6 ends, he's just been on fire all game. It looks really calm.
Same thing.
One of the great things about being part of the Karcher Juniors Canadian Championships is the enthusiasm of the crowd. You just can't beat it.
It's good.
Filled with other junior players and parents,
Same thing.
and just it's
Just
a wonderful atmosphere here.
Just over, guys. Sir, sir.
Well, they've been treated well by the
Doc.
host committee, headed by Doug Getty, the chairman.
Shot, Jordy.
Shot, Jordy.
And most of the young curlers have had an opportunity to make the short trip and view Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see who's going to make the first move here. Go around one of these guards. I think Manitoba probably on Vice's first might be wisely to go around the guard. They'll probably throw 1 or 2 more guards though.
You made reference to the vice. That's one of the differences between Eastern and Western curlers. You would refer to it as the third, wouldn't you, Joe?
That's exactly right. I was just going to explain for everybody out west, that would be the third.
Down east, that's the mate.
That's the mate.
Third mate or vice. Denny Neufeld
High's good.
delivering his first
bit
stone
more,
of
Jordy.
this
Oh, we got lots of
seventh
weight,
end.
guys. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Warren Jordy.
Off.
It's coming down now.
Oh, whoa. Just let it die.
Sit.
Sit. Sit.
These stones getting closer and closer together. You may see Brad run the double here.
We play it. What? I said the double's there, but we're leaving it in the 4-foot anyway, so.
Okay.
And that's a great comment by Brad. The double is there, but we're going to leave our shooter as a guard anyway.
Clean, hard.
He's showing his experience here. He knows that stone that's off the center line isn't going to hurt him too badly. He's always going to have a shot to get out of the end.
The higher the guard, the easier it is to come around. So the high guard is the one that he wants to go after first.
It's a little higher.
Mark at 92 as well. Second and third positions have really been dominating the game.
Last.
Okay. Just over. Just over.
It's hard not to be
That moved
impressed
it.
with the composure of these curlers and the quality of shot making.
Oh,
They're
well, that's
very,
good.
very likable, both teams.
Mike McEwen wanted Neufeld stone higher, and he got it.
And here's Brad showing his experience. He's going around, trying to get one around to the top 8 foot, making the first move.
And the reason he's doing that is he can't double peel those ones. So even if he does peel the top one, Manitoba will just come around and he'll be facing
Line's
one
good.
in the 4-foot anyway.
Wait, don't wait.
Good.
Top 12, top 8. Wolf scan. Dip.
Hard.
Room.
Room, guys.
Room. Whoa. Whoa, it's got a curl locked.
Got a curl.
Whoa.
Get ready.
Only if you got to.
Get
Nice
ready.
riff. They only have to get this about an inch buried to make this a good
Hard!
shot.
Hard! Come on! Hard!
Stop, buddy.
Well, the young man from Labrador City comes through with a fine shot here on end 7. One of the spectators from Newfoundland, obviously, yelling, nice shot.
Can't get it better.
Should have hoped to sit here, eh?
Give me a bit more on my internal move. Yeah.
And you see there was a good come around. The only thing they need to accomplish there was not to allow Manitoba to play a hit and roll buried. So he's by burying it only an inch or two, he's forced McEwen into making a tough shot, and the weight control was perfect again.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Close.
Whoa.
Close.
Yeah, whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
whoa.
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 Stone is tracking.
He won't get enough to remove it, or will he? No, it's going to hang around on the edge of the 12.
Throw it all.
This is a huge opportunity for Newfoundland to really get this game into control.
9. It's got to be above the tee, hey?
Yeah.
On Mark Nichols.
You can throw a 9-5.
Okay. Can't be short either. No?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, throw a 9-5, high 9.
Shade last, Mark.
You can see the ice that they're using for that draw. Mark Nichols' draw that went in there, it didn't move very much
Line's
at
good.
all.
Whoa. Top 8. Whoa. It's got to curl a lot.
Got to curl a ton.
Top 8, top 4. Whoa. Higher the better. No.
Do you want to go back here?
No, we can go.
Well.
No, no. No, leave it, leave it. Hard.
Hard.
Sorry, guys.
Well, whenever your skip is curling 96%, you're going to be in pretty good shape, and that's what Brad Gushue is doing.
back that much?
He is, but that was a bit of a mistake here. That slid deep, and it did leave the hit and roll this time, and they would have liked that stone to stop a good 3-4 feet shorter.
Positive release, I guess.
Yeah, really good weight.
Thanks. Well, if he makes it, I just got to throw the same thing against him.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of room there.
Already planning for his next shot again, too. It's good forward thinking, good positive. I always assume your opposition is going to make their shot.
Yep.
Yep.
Hard.
Hard.
Hard. Hard.
Hard.
Hard, guys.
Right up.
Hard. Hurry.
Hard.
Hard. Hard, guys. Hurry.
Jeez.
Oh, boy. They really had to work on that one, and they couldn't get it past the guard. And now a chance for Newfoundland to really take control. A draw 4-3.
8-5? Yeah. Can I get away with a 9?
Oh, easily. Never touched it.
All right.
Easy shot here for Newfoundland, just for throwing the same one they just threw.
Weight's good. Should be locked.
Well, it's always an easy shot when you're up 2 and drawn to lie 3.
Where is
or to
it?
take 3.
Back 4. Whoa, then.
That's a great
Whoa.
feeling.
Just lightly brush it.
Just clean it. You're fine.
Lightly brush it anyway.
Good job, Brad.
Well, Newfoundland has only scored on 3 ends, but they got a deuce in the first. They came back with another 2 on the fourth, and they get 3 more here on the 7th. And they have taken a commanding 5-point lead with 3 ends remaining.
Look at all the places you can get your oil changed. Still, you push yours beyond 5,000 kilometers. Because you're too busy? Well, I hope you don't have any pets. Hey, use your brain. Save an engine. This is reformulated Quaker State. Protection beyond 5,000 kilometers under any driving conditions. It's been tested. And unlike some people's plans to change their oil on time, it works. Anybody say insurance? Reformulated Quaker State. Ask for it. What more do you need to know?
And here comes Silken. Silken will get the bronze medal ahead of Ann Martin.
Silken, is everything all right? Everything's just fine.
For more than 60 years, families like Silkens have been entrusting A&J Campbell Van Lines to move more than just their belongings. You could say they deliver peace of mind. A&J Campbell, Canada's largest coast-to-coast mover.
Hey, Tim, I need to borrow your truck for some plywood. Tim, buddy, I got this load of bricks.
Help us move on the 8th?
Ton of drywall. Boat engine.
Boat?
Some steel pipes.
Piano.
Owners of the Ford F-150 Super Crew really love to get away from it all because they have a lot more to get away from.
Ah, hockey. The fast pace. I think it's time for a break between periods. You know, being a big brother only takes a few hours a week, and the benefits last a lifetime. It's safe, it's fun, and best of all, there's always someone cheering for you. So don't get called for delay a game. Call to become a big brother today. You might just get drafted after all.
When 1 million Canadians rely on you every week for their news, that is a very serious responsibility. That's why we treat the news in a serious manner. We are serious journalists. Serious. S-E-R-I-O-U-S-E. No E. Maybe we should do that one again. Is that okay?
There's the line score as Brad Gushue scores in bunches, 2 deuces and a 3 in 7 to take a 7-2 lead over Mike McEwen of Manitoba with 3 ends to go in this junior final. During the break, Ed McEwen, the coach for Manitoba, and Mike's father said, you guys have got to get aggressive, especially at the 3rd position with Denny Neufeld. I just talked to Jeff Thomas, the coach of the Newfoundland team. He said, I told my boys to stay calm, stay relaxed, don't get too high, don't get low, don't get nervous with 3 ends to go.
And Mike McEwen, I'm sure, is reflecting back still on his last stone of the previous end. But now he has to put those negative thoughts out of his mind, and as his father Ed, who is the coach, instructed him, get aggressive, get stones into play, and his mother Irmgard can only hope that they are successful in following that strategy.
Tight.
It is such a sinking feeling. You can just read that all over Mike's face and feel really badly for him when things aren't going your way and you're trying your hardest.
And no time is too early. They're going to have to go, not even before Neufeld shots, they're going to have to go right from the get-go, and they're hoping for misses at this stage, and that's tough.
See if he makes it for the 2nd time.
I still think this is the most difficult shot in curling, playing this tick.
I think it's one of the most difficult shots in curling.
Whoa! Whoa!
I think
It's number 5. No.
As you see more people playing and they play it with more experience, we'll make more of it.
Off.
But you have to catch such a small portion of the rock and move it such a short distance.
Nice try.
If you really needed to make that shot, you'd want to throw that with quieter weight. Though being up 5, there's no urgency to really make the tick shot there. I think if you were tied coming home, you might play with back line, back 8-foot weight would be enough. And your goal really is only to move it a little further outside than it is now.
Stevens, good.
Because with this type of lead, if you played that with the soft weight and just rubbed it and then left 2 guards, that would be a very bad thing.
And for those who may not be familiar with the rules of curling, under the free guard zone, the first 3 ends of the stone first 3 stones of the end, I'll get this straight, outside the rings cannot be removed. In the rings they can be, but outside the rings they cannot be.
Yeah, now onto the 4th stone, you're going to see Brad run for the hills there these last few ends. I don't anticipate too many soft weight shots from the Newfoundland team on the way home here.
Hard!
They're going to get both of them. Boy, this young man has really been curling up a storm in his first national junior experience.
What? Trying to get it to shoot through.
Yeah, I know.
Brad, I think you're asking for a little too much there.
That's great. I'd be happy with the result with the double peel. That's huge in the 8th end here, and just like you said, playing defense.
Steven it up.
Jordy Hargraves is asked to play a corner guard, and he wants it parallel to the Yellowstone on the left-hand side of the center line.
These kids can throw it so hard and so accurately. Any amount of separation that isn't it when they're not parallel, it's going to be leave a very good opportunity for a double.
Yep. Come on. Yep. Right up. It's good.
And that double chance does exist. Be a tough one, but
yeah, that would be a tough double peel. That the rocks are almost parallel.
And Brad doesn't even look like he's playing, and they just peel the red stone out of there.
Attaboy, Brent. Good toss. Go a little bit, Mark.
Stop, buddy. He's my hero.
Just go now. Keep it simple. We can give up 2.
Mike Adam walking in front of the spectators and making comments. A reference to Brent Hamilton. He's my hero.
Same thing. We started really early.
Many of us curlers that have experienced success have also experienced some sort of disappointment, like Manitoba is feeling right now, where they're down in a game in a final, and you didn't want to be this far down. And it's a real sinking feeling, like.
And I know that. It's tough to stay positive, it's tough to stay focused. But you know, the thing is, you have to remember you don't get these opportunities very often. So, you know, this may be their only chance. You don't like saying that, but you know, they got to pull out all the stops here the last few ends, and they say you need a break or two. Like
yeah, you do. Keep your chin up.
Newfoundland got one there early in the 6th end, so you're hoping for one of your own.
Shot, buddy.
To the delight of the spectators from Newfoundland here in St. Catharines, and for those back at the St. John's Curling Club who are watching our telecast,
one more.
sure they're absolutely delighted with
all right.
what they've seen so far and the way these 4 young men have curled in this national final.
It's not fudgy at all, is it?
No, very much.
Just an interesting call by McEwen. If they really wanted to take 3 points here, you know, it's almost too late at this stage of the end. They probably come around would be the shot. Even if they do make a guard here and make a nice come around, they're still probably the most they're going to get is 2. So I think most men's competitive teams will be playing a come around at this stage of the end.
I agree. I think the time has come.
That's fine. Easy. That's good. That's good.
Brad looking at the double again. And opted out, I think.
That was another quite difficult double peel. Very flat, throw it very, very hard.
Whoa! Off!
Oh. Come on.
Smokes it out.
Just enough.
I think he still gets a 4 on the scorecard for that one.
Good toss.
What?
It's a good toss.
That's when you say, never doubt in my mind.
Yeah, come on. Line's tight.
It's good.
Line's tight. Come on.
Hard.
Hard!
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 Whoa!
Whoa, room!
Room.
There.
Deep's fine. Right back. Come on.
That pick at the end looked like came open.
Yeah, it almost changed turns.
Normal, I think.
You can see it's wide open. He only missed the guard by a very small amount, and that stone is completely wide open.
Well, Brad Gushue has participated 6 times in the Karcher Junior Championships, the most appearances by a skip, the most appearances by any
Should be pretty good ice for that, hey?
junior competitor, and he has 37 wins to his credit. 38 would be the most important of his career. Gushue is also a scratch golfer. He 4 times has been on the Newfoundland Willingdon Cup team. He's won the Newfoundland Amateur on 1 occasion, 1999. 3 times he won the Newfoundland Junior Championship.
Sorry, guys. Fine deal, Brad.
And for his father, Ray, these are anxious moments, these final few ends of this National Junior Championship game.
Happily anxious, I think. Being up 5, it's not as nerve-wracking as a tight game, but they know they've still got a lot of curling to do. Mike McEwen really needs a shot here.
Yeah.
Ed McEwen, the coach of the Manitoba team, and Jeff Thomas is the coach of the Newfoundland rink.
I think it's always difficult as a parent to watch your child play, but when you're also doubling as a coach, it must be really hard.
Deep.
No line. It's gonna sit wide open. Yeah, go right back. As far as it goes, guys. Hard. Okay.
Irmgard McEwen.
I thought I got that going. It didn't move. Didn't move at all.
Disappointed in what she has been witnessing thus far.
This is really unlucky for Chris and for Mike that they threw both of their draws perfect weight, and they have it in their guard in a spot where they're not seeing a lot of finish to get behind.
Normal. Hard. Clean. 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 Whoa. Whoa. That's good. Clean it.
Nice throw, Brad.
Well, for Maureen Gushue, she has had the chance to applaud a lot of fine shot making by her son in this championship game. Brad was telling us that he was really disappointed by what happened last year in Moncton. He thought about that shot many times, replayed it over and over in his mind, but he also felt he had exercised those demons coming into this year's championship.
He pretty much has to. You can't carry that forward with you if you want to be successful. Like I said earlier, it's a dream for Brad to be here and erase that memory. Win or lose in this final, he'll be able to replace it with another experience.
Yep.
The only other time that Newfoundland has won a national championship, Jack McDuff won the Brier in 1976.
Right out.
It's fine.
So it's a single point on end number 8 for Manitoba. But Brad Gushue will have last rock into end 9, leading by 4.
I want to say hi to people. Go ahead.
You already know these uses for your Karcher. Here's a few you might not have thought of. The hat rack. The shower. The centerpiece. The chandelier. You can always use a Karcher.
Hurry!
Available at all authorized Uniroyal dealers across Canada.
Are you ready for this? Kick Old Man Winter in the teeth with Prestone Antifreeze, the #1 way to fight corrosion and protect your radiator to 64 below. Get in the Prestone zone with Prestone Antifreeze, and nothing can stop you now.
Hello? Hi, Jess. Hey, Mrs. Cooper. We should be home in about 5 minutes. How are the twins? They were little angels.
Introducing new Scott towels with sponge pockets. The strongest, most absorbent Scott towels ever made. New Scott towels, getting you out of big messes.
When back pain slows you down, turn to Robaxacet. With 2 active ingredients, one to relieve back pain, the other to relax tense back muscles. It's the brand doctors and pharmacists recommend most, so you can get back in the rhythm. Robaxacet, helping you walk away from back pain.
As catches of wild salmon decline, fish farms supply more and more fish to our supermarkets. Are the farms partly responsible for this decline? Are wild fish attacked by predators and diseases from the farms? Can wild breeds survive competition from farm escapees? Traditional fisher folk are up in arms. And what about the product? Can it be both nutritious and unhealthy at the same time? The Price of Salmon on The Nature of Things, Wednesday at 9 on CBC.
Hi, everybody at St. John's Curling Club and at the Stephenville Curling Club. See you when we get home.
Brad Gushue just 2 ends from victory with a 7-3 lead over Mike McEwen of Manitoba, and the Newfoundland fans are standing and anticipating their first ever junior curling championship. As you look at the line score, and Newfoundland really beating up on the Manitobans with 2 deuces and a 3 in number 7 as we head to the 9th, Don.
Well, a 4-point lead is not impossible to erase, but the way the Newfoundlanders have been curling in this championship game, unless they really step on their tie, an expression a friend of mine used to use, I think they've got this game under control.
I think we're watching some celebration by the Newfoundland team, and it's too early. And if I was their coach, I think right now I would be coaching them to get back into the game. There's 2 ends left. I think Mike and I and any experienced curler could tell you many stories of people overcoming a deficit like this and coming back to win the game.
Staying focused is huge at this stage of the game. Stay in the present.
Okay. Or 6.
4 up with is definitely a great spot to be in, but they say you got a little bit of work to do.
Board weight. You threw a good board last time.
That's a good board?
Yeah, let's make this one.
Mike's just switching around his rocks. They have always talked about the number.
They wanted him to use the 5 earlier, and that's the rock he went to. They made the adjustment down in the hat.
Whoa.
I think they decided that the 5 moves a little bit more than the 4.
Hard! 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 Whoa. Okay, Mike, good try.
Well, this one is going to move too much.
You said you're going to make it in the 10th, not the 9th, remember? Oh, sorry, that's right.
He's only allowed 1 tick shot a game, apparently.
Slut move.
It's good.
And as we said before, with these
Steven with that one.
shots, throwing up the guards, is that you got to be careful that you don't set up the double peel, because the way things are going for Newfoundland, if there's a double peel there, they're going to make it.
Oh, no, let it die. Let it die.
This is a strange mistake. They didn't get the stone over far enough. It wasn't so much the weight that's a big problem here, but they could have taken a lot less ice and got that stone another 2 or 3 feet over to the side.
At the lead position, Manitoba's Nolan Thiessen has the edge on Mike Adam. In the other 3 spots, it's all Newfoundland.
Mike, play the double. No, no, no.
Ooh.
Mike. 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 Someone pay attention to me. Mike. There's no need for that weight. It's too big.
Calm down. Don't need to throw that.
Oh, sugar.
6.
This is a bit of the focus we were talking about.
Wanna go through the
Guys
hole?
maybe
Yeah,
getting a little pumped up, a little ahead of themselves.
Let's go right.
The ice for that?
Get back into the game.
It's fine. This is good. It'll move here.
And you just know Manitoba's going to make everything from now on, because they're relaxed and really nothing to lose at this stage of the game.
And they do look very focused. They want to make some shots. They've been struggling all game. And they really do want to come out of this feeling like they have given it their best shot.
Just tee, just tee. It's there. Just tee. Yep, yep, yep. All right, throw.
It's great weight by Jordy.
But the stones that cause the biggest problem for Newfoundland are the 2 rocks on either side of the center line.
Whoa, close. Yep, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep. Whoa, whoa. Yep, yep.
He's got 1, he's got them both.
Wow, that's just fantastic for Brent Hamilton. The numbers say it all there, Mike. 98%.
Couldn't quite get it going in this game. He's playing unbelievably well.
Thanks, buddy.
And being the rookie on the team, he's holding his own very, very well.
Mike Adam came down and said, "Thanks, buddy. You bailed me out." And that's the good sign of teamwork, like appreciating that you missed your shot and somebody's gonna suck it up for you.
Let it die. Just let it die. It's fine, it's fine. All right.
Hargraves guarding the shot stone, and the guard is the one Gushue wants removed by Brent Hamilton.
Clean. Chop, Brent. Chop, Brent.
Very frustrating again for Team Manitoba when they have things looking good and they have things set up and they're getting a little glimmer of hope to get it snuffed out again.
I know. He might get his 9 game yet.
Scared guys. Just halfway is good. High is fine.
Same as Jordy.
Just clean. Just clean. Just clean. Just clean. Get it over.
Oh boy.
An unfortunate pick. That rock caught some debris. They were just sweeping it lately.
Oh well, that's the kind of day it is.
Yeah, it's been that kind of day. You know, when you look back on some of the things that have happened, it almost seems as though destiny may have been riding on the Newfoundland team's shoulders. They got a break on the 6th end when it looked as though Manitoba might have had something going in a battle to fight back.
They've created a lot of their own destiny too. They're the ones that have been taking the play to Manitoba the entire game, right from the first end, right from the get-go. And Manitoba really has had very little opportunity to score any points in this game. And really just the one instance really in that 6th end.
And you know, Manitoba, their stomach is churning, and they're not feeling very good about this whole experience. And I used to hate it when we were losing in these kind of games when somebody told me this, but I'll say it, and that is this does build character. You're in a Canadian junior final. There's a ton of people that would give anything to make it that far. And eventually, when they get over this kind of the way the game has gone, they will look back on it and say, okay, that experience will help me become a better player.
Same thing. And at this point, you start counting stones. I think if you're Team Newfoundland, you're looking from the backboard, so you know you're up 4, nothing in play.
Yep. Clean.
You love that word clean. You just love that word clean. It means everything's looking great.
That miss by Mike Adam might have helped things out. They maybe brought them down back to earth a little bit, and the guys are really focused again. You can see they're not smiling quite as much as they were at the beginning of the end.
It was. First one was pretty good too.
And that was a good move by Brad Gushue. It shows his experience at this junior level, where he called Mike down and got all 4 team members together and said, hey, you know, don't throw too much weight here.
Stover. Stover.
Weight's fine.
Sure, you clean it.
Not too tight.
Whoa, whoa.
I think you can hear the applause. The people are really wanting Manitoba to play well. They're really, you know, encouraging them.
I don't think the people wearing red and white are. That's the group of fans from Newfoundland. And there is a large contingent of them here.
Let's clean it all away. Yeah. Let's go, buddy.
Well, Gushue as a skip
Clean.
in 1996 had a 5-7 record. In 98, he had a 4-8 record. In 99, an 8-4 record. He lost the semifinal to Morris. And last year, an extra end loss to Brad Kuhn of British Columbia. The only time he has not represented Newfoundland was in 97. His first trip to the juniors was 95. We asked what happened in 97, and he wound up losing to a guy who used to be on his team.
We're either up 4 with, if we're blank. You might not even get a shot.
They're talking about who gets to throw the last stone in the 10th end.
Make sure.
It's fine, guys. It's there. It's there. It's there.
Just T-line, guys. Just T-line. Shot, Mike.
Up 5 without, up 4 with. What's your preference, Joan? I think either one's pretty good.
My preference would be up 5 without.
Let's stick it. What? Stick it. Yeah.
And that seems to be what Brad Gushue feels as well. Let's stick it, he said, to the front end. Up 5 without, they might not throw any more stones.
Normal. Clean. Hard. Yep. Hard. 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 Clean. 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 It's fine. Good shot, Brad. Good boy. Good shot, Brad.
So it's a pickup of 1 on end number 9. And a very comfortable position for Newfoundland in quest of its first ever junior championship.
Service always first.
We came here for the rivers and mountains. Penny's our gardener. She's blooming smart, naturally. Folks come in. We know what they need. Drop by for some advice. I'll show you how to tie a fly.
True Value. Help is just around the corner.
There are places on Earth where control is essential, where a single false step can be fatal. When that place is your wheat, Everest post-emergent herbicide is your lifeline. Everest is the first and only Group 2 herbicide to give you outstanding control of wild oats and green foxtail, the ones you know you've got, and the resistant ones you hope you don't. Stay on top of grassy weeds with Everest.
Look at all the places you can get your oil changed. Still, you push yours beyond 5,000 kilometers. 'Cause you're too busy? Well, I hope you don't have any pets. Hey, use your brain. Save an engine. This is reformulated Quaker State. Protection beyond 5,000 kilometers under any driving conditions. It's been tested. And unlike some people's plans to change their oil on time, it works. Anybody say insurance? Reformulated Quaker State. Ask for it. What more do you need to know?
Ralph Klein will unveil his new legislative agenda in a throne speech. Many believe it will set the stage for an election call in a province riding high on energy revenues.
Hi!
All she wanted was to be involved.
You can't be my best friend. You're my mother.
Then, a cyberspace glitch turned her into a teen.
Do you want to get together tonight?
Oh, we'd love to.
Virtual Mom, Sunday, February 18th on CBC.
This was the scene 1 year ago in Moncton. The anguish written all over the face of Brad Gushue. He had last rock in the extra end. All he needed was to draw to the 8 foot and couldn't make it. Mike getting a hug from his dad, Bruce Adam, as tears flowed in that Newfoundland team. But this is the scene 1 year later here in St. Catharines. The Newfoundland team is pumped up with an 8-3 lead, 1 end to go, and Bruce Adam is taking his seat to watch history in the making as Newfoundland tries to win its first junior curling title.
Well, there has been so much disappointment over the years for several teams from Newfoundland in national championships when they have been on the cusp of perhaps winning.
Throw up the corner.
Last year, of course, the best opportunity at the junior level for Brad Gushue, and the disappointment of the extra end.
Looks like a ton.
But 5 up heading home
I didn't put on an extension on that.
guarantees, all but guarantees, a national championship for the province of Newfoundland.
There might be more tears this year. Tears of happiness. And
just for me alone. I find it very emotional watching Canadian finals. It brings back too many memories. And you know, it's a very emotional sport when it gets to this point, Canadian final.
One of the most excited people from Newfoundland might be Bob Cole as he sits in his hotel room in Toronto, getting set to call tonight's game between the Maple Leafs and the Red Wings.
Little quiet.
He was a Briar curler a long time ago and is a great curling fan.
Whoa, yep. Whoa, hard! Sit!
He did.
He promised the tick shot.
He made the tick shot.
That's a great reaction.
Mike had said to his teammates, I'm saving the tick for the 10th end.
Old Jordy.
And Manitoba, once again,
I said you're going to do it in the 10th.
needing to maintain composure. You know, things were looking very, very good for them many times in this game, and Newfoundland has just been unbeatable.
Take your time, buddy. We've got 23 minutes left.
Probably all three guys are going to be in the 90s, which is unbelievable at this level. And, you know, as you say, they were unbeatable today. They played an awesome game.
Hurry.
Sorry, Brent wasn't in the 90s. I apologize. He's at 100% at this stage of the game.
That's with the bonuses. I know a lot of people at home will say, I saw him miss a half shot.
Made that great double peel last time. That was his bonus shot.
And in curling's percentages, you get bonuses for really difficult shots that are made.
What? You want to chat or not?
No. Why? Yeah. I don't want you to flash through.
No, put it over there.
Can't help but feel very badly for this Manitoba team, and as they try to maintain composure.
It's good, Jordy.
And two more behind the back porch, I think, gets things over with here. So it's going to be third mark. Nichols gets to throw the last stone.
There you go.
Perfect game remains intact. Great performance, 100% for the game for Brent Hamilton. That may be a first in the Canadian Junior Final.
And any
final.
any final. I can't think of that ever happened. Mike McEwen forced to use that extreme corner guard.
I got 37.
Just in. In's good.
Oh.
It's right here. Yep. Yep. Yes.
Great shot.
To the edge of the 12, and now Mark Nichols has an opportunity. Well,
I might get a shot after all.
he's going to take a run at that guard rather than attempt to go after the stone that is on the edge of the 12.
That was just a great shot by Jordan.
Yep. Hard. Hard. That's fine.
Now there is no cover. All Manitoba can do is put a stone in the rings, and they have to hope for 3 consecutive misses, and that's not likely to happen.
I would agree. Chances are, but you need to keep playing until you run out of stones.
One could read the thoughts of Brad Gushue right now.
I guess we're going to the center. Stay red. Okay.
Don't think that was the call. I think he was actually going
Choosing
through
his own turn.
He was taking his own. Mike was actually looking, I think, to split the house.
Mike McEwen has already removed his gloves, getting ready to shake hands to congratulate the new Canadian Junior Men's Curling Champions.
It's good. Wait.
Brad Gushue pumping his fist in the air. It's all over. Newfoundland wins it by a score of 8-3, the first ever national junior championship for that province, and only the second national title. Jack McDuff won the Brier in 1976. The most experienced junior competitor of all time, Brad Gushue, leads his team to victory here in St. Catharines. And that certainly atones for the disappointment of a year ago in Moncton, New Brunswick. So Gushue and company will now get the opportunity to represent Canada and curl on the ice that will be used for the Olympic Games in 2002 when they participate in the 2001 World Junior Curling Championships in Ogden, Utah.
Oh, super game, man. Super game. Oh, God. Way to go, Mike. Oh, proud of you.
A different scene from a year ago when there were tears of condolence. This year, tears of happiness for Brad Gushue and his national junior champions.